Forward. This is for those who have left and those who remained in my life. One of my favorite poets once said, "Only a history that is worth telling in detail." For me, that is exactly the case. A prologue as short as a rabbit's tail. The blind fortune teller at the entrance to the alley told me, "Your path of love is destined to be a hard one. You will be intertwined forever with a man, and no, there will not be a final happy ending." I shoved my nearly finished soda into his hands, clapped my hands together, and walked away. "Hey, you haven't paid." The blind fortune teller was still yelling madly from afar. "I'm taking his hair. You can't even figure out whether I'm a man or a woman, and still he dares to ask for money? I'm doing my good deed for the day by not ruining your store." That was what I wrote for my first post in my freshman year of high school. The professor's observations were, on a certain level, it seems to throw some light on the falsehood behind superstitious beliefs. However, some of the phrases used are too vulgar. Chapter 1. Apart from the fact that my essays always stray too far from the given topic and lack elegance in my use of language, costing me some marks, my overall grades were basically good. In short, I was close to being called one of the best students. So before the midterm rankings were set, I made a bet with Fatty and the rest that I'd be able to make it into the top 15. It was a safe bet, because if I could get my essay passed, entering the top 15 would be an easy goal. However, when the placements were revealed, I was ranked 16th. Speechless, I treated Fatty and the rest to the best fried noodles in the student cafeteria. Each person ate 2 large plates, and along with the noodles that disappeared, so did half my weekly allowance. My dad and mom usually give my brother and me our allowance every week. I wasn't satisfied. My essay had gotten surprisingly good approval. But why was I unable to break into the top 15? I pulled out the last 7 ratings and went through each one carefully. Out of 100 points, I obtained 87 in Chinese, 90 in math, 92 in English, 89 in physics, 86 in science policies, and 69 in history. History shot me down. I actually fell below 70 points. Still unwilling to accept the position, I went through the grade sheet thoroughly, hoping to catch a miscalculation of a mark or two. The 15th position belonged to him, Lu Feng, who was also in our class. He was only 1 spot ahead of me. Getting a point back would mean I could share the spot with him. This wasn't about honor, but more about whether I was going to be able to eat that week. With this final verification, my blood began to boil. My eyes turned red with rage. They gave me full marks for the multiple choice questions, but the teacher gave me a big red mark. Not a single point out of 20 was added to my final score. 20 points. To enter the top 15, even half a point could change everything, let alone 20 points. The me that was originally lying on the upper bunk bed of a dormitory shared by 8 people, waiting for death, immediately got up. I prepared to look for Fatty first to get the money back, and then get my legitimate points back in the teacher's office. But as soon as I raised my head, I saw Lu Feng, who resided in the bottom bunk below me, rush through the door excitedly. In his hands was an expensive-looking paper box. "Cheng Yichen, come and take a look at my CD player." It was the year 1996. In our small town back then, many children could only enjoy heavy cassette tape players. Owning a Walkman from AIWA was already a privilege, let alone an MD player. I carried an indescribable sense of curiosity and admiration as I examined the black apparatus. And in the meantime, I completely forgot about my usual position of not bothering myself with Lu Feng. Since the start of classes, only half a semester had passed, but the little groups among the guys had already more or less formed. Lu Feng and I were 2 different kinds of people who never mixed with each other no matter what. As for me, as you have seen, I was a good student and an obedient son. My brother, who is a year younger than me, was still in his freshman year of junior high school, while I was a fast learner who moved up a few grades to be a freshman in senior high school. Besides my grades, my other aspects were at the bottom. My family's financial background was very normal. I was taught from a young age that there was nothing more valuable than the knowledge you get from books, and I was threatened with the usual fright. If you can't get into university, you can return to our hometown and plow our ancestors' fields that stretch for miles. Therefore, I never compared myself with others. Whether in terms of my food or clothing, as long as it was edible or wearable, that was enough. For example, my high school uniform, the standard blue or black long pants with a white t-shirt and white sneakers. Still, I try wearing it. As expected, I had the most suitable hairstyle in accordance with school rules, and an everyday scene you would see would be me wearing an outdated pair of glasses and sitting at my desk, busy with my work. Lu Feng, on the other hand, he is, It's not proper to speak ill of someone behind their back, so I'll just present an objective point of view. Picking up a few rumors I've heard through gossip. Appearance. Apparently, he was the most elegant and attractive male student in our level. If compared to Andy Lau or Aaron Kwok, they wouldn't have a chance. Seriously? Nobody finds a Chinese person with a high nose bridge and deep amber eyes strange. Family background. Yes, I heard that his father was a Chinese American. Lu Feng is a mixed-race person. To highlight this, since the start of high school, Lu Feng's family had been donating large sums of money to the school every year to build this and that. Academics. Let's say that him making it into the top 15 was as nonsensical as the fact that I had not entered the top 15. Character. This delicate question is difficult to answer. But the money his father had donated was partly to remove the records of Lu Feng's multiple fights. In one of the high school years, he hadn't been expelled by a miracle all year. The finance department was said to have been plagued with anxiety for quite some time afterwards. Simply put, neither of us paid any attention to the other. This new machine had obviously made us forget about that while we sat together listening to the collection of popular rock CDs of Lu Feng, who I had never heard talk. The sound quality is pretty good, right? Lu Feng chattered excitedly. My father is a man who keeps his word. Breaking into the top 15 this time was all down to luck. I understood immediately. This was the prize that Lu Feng had asked of his father. I felt the history paper in my hands and hesitated. I didn't like Lu Feng, but I couldn't bear to bring him down at this moment. Do you like it? I'm going out to play soccer in the afternoon. Do you want to borrow it first? God, this was hateful. It was too generous. I quickly rolled up the paper hidden behind my back. Forget it. The cost of the fried noodle dishes didn't even add up to half of the antenna of the CD player. Lu Feng picked up the soccer ball under his table and called out the boys' names beside him. He was still standing by my desk. I sighed. Because of you, to protect you, I'll have to starve for 2 days. Tossing my grade aside, I grabbed an English textbook for bedside reading by Lu Feng before I slowly drifted off to sleep. Come on, sleep. Once you fall asleep, you won't be hungry anymore. When I woke up, Lu Feng was already back. His eyes carefully examined something in his hand as he stood by the bed rubbing his dry hair. I wondered for a moment before realizing it was my history paper. Your grades are corrected incorrectly. Seeing that I had woken up, Lu Feng held up the paper. His tone was calm and yet hostile. I mumbled an "oh" in return. Why don't you go correct it? If the teacher added those points, you'd be first. If I changed it, you. Unsurprisingly, I've never been one with the gift of gab after a nap. Who knew that Lu Feng was someone with an immense amount of pride? The expression on his face changed, obviously hearing those words. I know you look down on me. When the final exams come around, I'm going to be able to get a position above you without any issues, and on my own. You don't have to pretend that you're worried. Well, it had been too nice to be true. I have no other intention. That player looks good, but whether you want it or not is your problem. It has nothing to do with me. I don't need to curry favor with you. And I'm not looking down on anyone. So don't be so narrow-hearted. I was too lazy to say anything else, and with a quick eye roll, I picked up my paper. The room was silent for some time before I heard him speak. What about this? I don't like to owe favors to people, so I'm going to treat you to a meal as payment. This person is quite irritating. Buying someone a meal as payment right after scolding them. After thinking about it, and realizing that I was hungry, I nodded. Of course. After that, I often thought that if it weren't for this exchange, if Lu Feng and I had kept our distance and just bumped into each other as usual, the future, my future, his future, might have been different. I never expected that Lu Feng would spend so much money on food. To repeat myself, it was the year 1996. Kentucky Fried Chicken was not commonly found in the past. To eat that KFC meal, we needed an hour of further travel in an old, wrecked bus before reaching the city. To be honest, my knowledge about American fast food only extended to what I had read about them or seen on TV. As a result, Lu Feng called me old-fashioned as he wore a serious and respectful expression, dunking his fries into the tomato sauce with deep concentration, even more so than when I asked a question about chemical analysis. Even though I was mercilessly made fun of and mocked by Lu Feng, it became one of the most unforgettable meals of my life. That feeling would never come back in the future when I sit at the KFC down the street eating a hamburger and chicken pieces. Perhaps a person's first time truly leaves the strongest memories. This might explain why in the many years to come, I still try to forget this man named Lu Feng. Because for as many firsts as he had given me, he had also taken almost as much from me. Chapter 2. From there, Lu Feng and I naturally became closer. After enough time had passed, and I realized that he wasn't as hateful as he seemed and could, in fact, be rather cute at times, our relationship quickly grew stronger. I think the two of us were initially opposites that attracted each other in terms of personality, but bit by bit we became attached to one another. That was evident from the decreasing demerits of Lu Feng and the increase of my abuse. Not long after our friendship had stabilized, Lu Feng started criticizing my appearance. "You look very ugly with these glasses. You look like some kind of mushroom. God, just when I start to be nice, you start to cross the line. It's none of your business. You look very ugly, though. If you're going to continue, then write the essay by yourself." At that time, I was repaying kindness with evil, sitting at my side in exchange for 3 famous stewed chicken thighs from the cafe. The title of the essay was My Opinion on Deception. The school competition did not receive enough entries, and therefore set a target number of students to be picked from each class, regardless of quality. Both Lu Feng and I hit the jackpot, all thanks to his wide smile after hearing my name being called, which resulted in his name being called next. That turned into me smiling in his place. Lu Feng was quite strong in math and science, but when it came to the 2 languages, his mistakes could bring one to tears, making it hard to believe he was Chinese, let alone a Chinese American. It was rumored that his midterm essay was written simply with his stream of consciousness. By that, I mean he wrote whatever he saw. For example, if he saw a bird fly by or noticed that the girl in front of him had a skirt that revealed her thighs, he might try to write a poem about it, and then go on to write an essay based on that. When the results came out, I guessed that the teacher must have been captured by the absolutely mysterious introduction and the conclusion. Lu Feng's handwriting, which resembled a work of calligraphy, must have also left a strong impression. But if the miracle happens again, it would not be called a miracle anymore. For that reason, Lu Feng's usual essays were basically pathetic scraps of paper. No matter how you looked at them, they were only at the level of a primary school child. Giving him a passing grade was already asking for a lot. Lu Feng himself was clear about that. Therefore, I had taken the initiative to buy the chicken thighs and put them in my lunchbox in front of me in order to give myself some mental strength. At the same time, I flattered while fanning myself on the side. It was late November, when people needed a wool sweater to go outside. For my own essay, I had painstakingly written my comments, analysis, and reflections on unhealthy exam room practices. At the end, I had included a deep and sincere message. Under socialism, we as students should have a solid foundation in our educational journey and should never cheat. My essay was the perfect example of traditional socialist, good youth ideals. As for Lu Feng, with a crack of the pencil, he shot off with his unsubstantiated theories, berating the education system and being picky about the changes to be made. Yes, it has to be reasonable. When a rare event becomes a frequent problem, when a product of the imagination becomes a habit, then you have to take a closer look at why this is reasonable. It is a gentleman's clever use of other tools instead of his prominent wisdom that helps him stand out. A good wind relies on borrowed strength to send me to the heavens. When an individual's ability is limited, proper use of other people's tools as a medium to reach his destination cannot be called an unfair shortcut. From an educational standpoint, I think. On the other hand, the public's concerns about security do not necessarily reflect a decrease in the quality of character among the people, but rather the instability between the government and the people. The increased frequency of cheating cases does not reflect a lack of knowledge and ideas on the student's part. The real problem lies in our educational system, which is full of holes. Therefore, a change in the educational system is a much more urgent and effective measure compared to catching students who are cheating in the exam hall. The rest was more or less similar to what was written before. All the lines were just nonsense that feared no God. The spiel had left me quite satisfied when it was done. Watching me write like I was possessed, and coming up with large chunks of text within a mere half hour. Lu Feng was too stunned to even guess that I was digging his grave. After finishing, I ate away at the drumsticks, laughing to myself from time to time. That great moron Lu Feng didn't even give a second glance before writing his own name and pushing the paper into his backpack for tomorrow's submission. Xiaochun, don't use these glasses anymore. They look terrible. A typical example of biting the hand that feeds you. I wiped my mouth and then started. My eyes don't look right. Wearing these glasses hides some of that ugliness. A guy's appearance didn't really matter, but after being criticized several times, I didn't feel quite comfortable. Why don't you take them off? It wouldn't be any worse than this current look anyway. I turned and ignored him. Come on, Xiaochun, we have no idea what you look like without your glasses either. Take them off so we can take a look. I'd rather look terrible and scare them. It wasn't my fault that I was born ugly, but there was no need to show this fact. Suddenly, my vision became a blur as my glasses were removed by Lu Feng. Since my first year of high school, my left eye had a power of 375 and my right eye was 425. This later seemed to stay the same for about 7 or 8 years. With my relatively bad astigmatism, the sudden loss of my glasses made everything in front of me look like a blur. All I could do was stare blankly ahead with my mouth slightly open in a state of shock. My surroundings became quiet. Only a while later did I hear dorm leader Xiaoshan laugh dryly before saying, Xiaochun, actually, you look very nice. Lu Feng gave back my glasses, placing them in my hand. Forget it. You should keep using them. Like I said, you're evil. I smiled weakly. Strangely, I felt a bit annoyed by Lu Feng's comment. I can't deny it. Lu Feng is the most charming male student in our class. Due to his mixed genes, his traits are different from most people. If you look this good, you would definitely be more picky about the appearances of others. I'm just consoling myself. In reality, I was still silently hoping that Lu Feng wouldn't find me ugly. Lu Feng gave me a small smile. After everyone had left the dorm room to prepare for the evening's self-study in the classroom, he came closer to me and reminded me, don't let others see you without your glasses in the future. I understand. My tone was not entirely friendly. I'm not evil enough to go out and scare people when I have nothing to do. Lu Feng's smile widened. Do you know what I mean? Irritated, I pushed him. Go away. I have to go to self-study now. If you find me ugly, stay far away from me. Don't stand here lest you get scared. Suddenly, he grabbed me and pulled me closer, lowering his head to speak softly in my ear. I'm saying that look from earlier made me want to kiss you. Have you gone crazy? I was stunned for a moment, my face turning bright red before I bellowed with rage. Lu Feng laughed. I turned around to avoid looking at that smirk on his face and kept busy packing up my diary and the practice questions for the self-study session. Huh? Where are my socks? Lu Feng lowered his head as he searched the room. I washed them. This man looked absolutely cool and clean on the outside, but on the inside, he was a disaster. He never washed his socks, and after wearing a pair, he would shove them under his pillow. By the time all the socks had gathered under his pillow, he would pick out a pair that wasn't as dirty or smelly as the rest and use them. More than half a semester had passed, but I had never seen him wash his socks. I bet that if he picked any of them, it would be quite difficult to stand them on the ground by themselves. Since I slept in the bunk above, I could barely bear the smell, and yet he didn't find it even the least bit disgusting. Finally, after class, when I went out to buy the chicken thighs, I took the chance and washed all those piercing socks. It was only after I had laid them out to dry that I realized there were more than a dozen of them. Heavens! You washed them? Lu Feng raised his head, giving me a strange look. Why are you looking at me like that? I was starting to think there were millions of pounds worth of value in them, seeing his terrifying expression. Xiaochun, did you help me wash my socks? Yes. I was confused. I love you. Lu Feng opened his arms and immediately gave me a hug. Before I could avoid it, I was wrapped tightly in his arms, and he kissed me on the cheek. Pervert. The shock was too much for my heart to take. I'm a pervert. Lu Feng smirked. Here, I'll kiss you one more time. Keep dreaming. I slammed a thick chemistry textbook into his face, only to be easily grabbed by the arm and pressed onto the bed. Hey, stop. I begged. I'm ticklish. Before I could finish, I felt a small attack on my waist, causing me to burst out laughing. Ticklish. Lu Feng was smiling. What about this place? Here or here? The places he touched felt like I'd been struck by lightning, causing me to curl up into a ball, laughing until I found it hard to breathe. Xiaochun, you are very sensitive. If I'm ticklish, I'm ticklish. Why is there a need for such a sensual word? I stood up, looking at his complicated expression as he bit his lower lip, his amber eyes bright. Why are you acting so strange? Did you hit your head or something? Nothing. He smiled, wearing his barefoot Nike sneakers before picking up his backpack and hoisting it over his shoulder. Let's go to self-study. Chapter 3. Lu Feng going to self-study could be used as an idiom. Its meaning was a phenomenon that rarely or almost never happened. Most of his time was spent outside of school fighting and getting into trouble. As mentioned before, this was the main source of dirty income for the school. He had recently broken the arm of a neighboring school gang leader using a chair, giving him a name and recognition among the secondary students in the district. This was the generation when school violence was the latest fashion. They had seen too many gangster movies and imitated their actions, beating fast and hard. The gang leaders managed to be named if they were able to break beer bottles on others' heads mercilessly and thought they were heroic. Being one of the leader's favorite followers, I was envied by many. Only I, however, understood the feeling of not wanting to be dragged down by this one who was capable of insulting an entire professor's family tree in his best voice after leaving the office where he had just been reprimanded. Xiaochun, let's go ice skating. I'll treat you. No, I haven't done anything to deserve it. This kind of talk was common between us. Lu Feng was rich, and of course, he was generous with his friends. However, I was one of those who would never accept any benefit from any person without having earned it. Dad had strictly taught me and my brother from a young age with the help of the feather duster. First, never steal. Second, don't always be greedy. By greedy, he meant obtaining little advantages. So between Lu Feng and me, we drew a clear line when it came to matters of money. Even when we went on an excursion and he got me a bottle of mineral water, I would pay him back every penny. I looked honest doing this, but Lu Feng often got angry because of it. As expected, he puckered his brow with rage while looking at me. After staring at me for a while and realizing that I wasn't the least bit moved, he changed his tone. You definitely deserve this. Let's go around twice and take it as a way to express my appreciation to you. Hey, that essay I helped you complete last time took first prize in the competition. My father was generous with the reward he gave me. I froze, stunned. Oh, really? How did that happen? Did that pointless essay really take first prize? Why do things go wrong this way? I had never won a single award for essays I wrote, and only 3 for chicken thighs, and I was kicked out of the award for him. In those days, ice skating was very popular among high school students. The reason being that the lights and atmosphere there were suitable for some mischief. Boys would bring pretty girls to skate hoping to become closer, openly holding their hands or touching their waists under the guise of teaching, even planning their falls carefully so that the girl would end up in their arms when they fell. Most of the time, the relationship between two people was taken to the next level after skating together, and if luck was on their side, they could hit a home run. When we were changing our shoes, many people greeted Lu Feng. Ah Feng, haven't you brought a pretty girl here today? Ah Feng, you're alone? Damn, does this mean that because I'm a man, I'm not human? Having no experience of even holding a woman's hand before, I was annoyed. Hey, it seems like you're pretty promiscuous. Exactly how many girls have you skated with? Wait, let me count. He actually started counting on his fingers. I expressed my irritation with an ugh before getting up and making my way toward the skating rink, leaning on the wall. Xiaochun, you suck, he would yell. Be quiet. Even without you announcing it out loud, anyone could see that I was a newbie. Honestly, that was my first try at ice skating. He should deserve a consolation prize for me being able to stand, not the words, you suck. Lu Feng was playing really well on the rink, while all I could do was hold on to the railing while shuffling. Safely taking my first step was as exciting as the first step of a man on the moon for me. Xiaochun, let me help you. After 2 rounds of skating and seeing that I was still hanging onto the railings struggling for my dear life, he approached and began to scold me. You will never learn this rhythm in this lifetime. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I slapped him vigorously with my right hand as if I were scaring away flies. You go play your way. I'll learn bit by bit. That scoundrel ambushed me again, pulling my arm with force. Once my hands left that lifeguard rail, I screamed out loud, my screams akin to drowning. After struggling for a while, I realized that I was tenaciously clinging to Lu Feng's shoulder. I knew it. You wanted me to fall to my death. Lu Feng laughed. You didn't fall, did you? Come on, I'll catch you. I'm so much better than those handrails. He was certainly more reliable than the railings, especially since the railings wouldn't be there to save me when I called for help. With my left hand intertwined with his right, my index finger reaching up for balance, Lu Feng stayed by my side, his right hand staying where it was around my waist. In this position, we managed to skate one round around the rink, and by the time we finished, my hands were wet from sweat. Let's try one more round. Please let me go out, I begged pitifully. I'm not good with balance. I'll never get the trick. What are you saying? You can almost stand up straight now. Let's practice some more. Forehead to us. A couple was heading unsteadily directly toward the two of us. When it seemed that a big crash of newbies would happen, Lu Feng's quick reflexes took me aside to avoid it. I wasn't able to duck as elegantly as he did and slide, and as a result, tears welled up in my eyes. I firmly grasped Lu Feng's clothing as I sobbed sadly on the ground. On that occasion, I finally saw that Lu Feng's reliability was like a living railing. I think I'd rather not go any further. I was pathetically leaning against Lu Feng's chest, sobbing softly. It was a bit awkward for two men to be so close to each other, but Lu Feng's hug was gentle, so I didn't bother fighting to get free. Let's try it again, he said lightly. Are you really dissatisfied until I fall and break my limbs? With me here, you won't fall. Although Lu Feng spoke up bravely, I still broke something. Someone had approached from behind, and with the loss of Lu Feng's reliable grip, I fell downward to meet the ground. Silence. The pain had rendered me speechless. Is he fucking blind? Lu Feng furiously cursed as he quickly leaned down to help me up. Are you okay? How can I be okay? Even though it was embarrassing, I wanted to cry out loud from the pain when I accidentally put pressure on my ankle. I twisted my ankle. I made quite the show at school the next 2 days, hopping on one foot to get around. Often, I would curse while jumping, and for those who didn't know better, they would have thought, as expected, a top student goes on being strong even when he's hurt. Looking at my strict face while muttering, thinking that even under such circumstances I would still be memorizing formulas. Xiao-chun, are you feeling better today? The target of all my vicious abuse was Lu Feng waving a bottle of medicinal oil in my hand. You wish. This is going to hurt for 100 days. Oh, that leaves only 98 more days, then. I was almost going crazy. He applied the medicine clumsily to my ankle and asked me, where does it hurt? I snapped back, my ass. Wasn't that evident after directly hitting the ground with a lot of force? Oh, he raised his eyebrows with a mischievous smile. Do you want me to help you massage it? We were both men, and personally, I thought it wasn't a big deal, but that look on his face made me uneasy. And no thanks. It doesn't hurt that much. Unexpectedly, the pain worsened the next day. Perhaps the words, "it doesn't hurt that much," meant that the pain would spread to the tailbone. So even the simple act of lifting my waist was tremendous. My right foot also swelled bigger, rendering me useless without a single foot to stand on, as I cried helplessly in bed. Chapter 4. As commonly happens in the essays written by primary school students, there would be that helpful ace student who willingly takes responsibility for looking after the injured student before and after classes, carrying the wounded on his back, no matter if it rained or if the sun was shining. That very helpful student, of course, had to be Lu Feng. At first, when he wanted to carry me on his back, I refused. Spraining my ankle while ice skating was not a glorious thing, so I didn't dare lie down with pride on his back for everyone to see. Lu Feng was too tall. I would stand out no matter where he carried me. But it was near the end of the semester, and my grades were of added importance, so even if I had to drag myself to class, I would. Immediately, Lu Feng took the job and started hauling me around like a batch of burden. The distance between the dormitory and the classroom block was not far, but there were plenty of stairs. Lu Feng, being used to acting like a young master, was not exactly in good shape for the way I was being carried. In general, he pulled me hard onto the bed and would make me cry in pain or hit the walls every time we headed for the stairs. Damn it, do you think I'm a punching bag? I held back my tears as I counted the numerous bruises that had mysteriously appeared. Lu Feng, who was in charge of applying the medicated oil for me, had touched almost every single spot on my body. My back was reserved for a stunning beauty. You must consider yourself lucky to be the first to have obtained this honor. Hey, can you not judge others by their appearance? Even though I'm not a beauty, I am at least a man with intellectual beauty. Here, open your mouth. Lu Feng opened the lunchbox. My 3 meals were now bought by him. I avoided the spoon, uncomfortable. I have not had a stroke. I just sprained my ankle. Do you really need to feed me? Stop being so wordy. Open up. No. However, due to his quick and firm actions, my jaw was still helplessly pinched open as he sent the spoonful of rice into my mouth. I know I don't eat delicately, but you don't have to keep looking at my mouth. I miserably finished my meal with his continuous feeding, even receiving the service of having my mouth cleaned for me. Have you finished cleaning? My lips were burning, my skin feeling like it was about to be ripped off. It's still a bit dirty in here. Just wipe it away. You're not nearsighted. There's no need for you to come so close. When the vacation approached, Lu Feng's desk had accumulated a pile of love letters. I really don't know what they see in you. With an honest man like me here, they keep choosing to fall for you. I was green with envy. You're jealous. For the 100th time, I gave him a resentful look. Have you ever been confessed to by a girl? That's what I expected. I snorted with anger. I'm with you all day? You've completely stolen the attention away from me. So how are girls going to see me? No. In the future, I'm going to have to keep my distance from you and stay very far away. I wasn't someone who stood out in the first place, but standing next to Lu Feng's glory had basically made me invisible to the eyes of others. Don't you dare. His voice was suddenly stern. My usual shy self quickly shook my head. No, of course not. Cheng. When Lu Feng sat next to me, he habitually put his arms around my shoulders. Do you really want to get a girlfriend? Of course. Seeing his look, I muttered, not. I hadn't yet reached the age of puberty, so I had no fantasies about the opposite sex. The desire to be popular with women was simply to satisfy my vanity. Let's make a promise. As long as I don't have a girlfriend, you can't fall for just any girl either. It sounded like an unfair agreement, and the truth was that it was a contract with no legal effect. Lu Feng attracted people from left and right without even having to try, and with his lack of moral principles, he couldn't even get a chance to touch a little girl's finger before a cluster of children would surround him and call him dad. I nodded nonchalantly. Lu Feng smiled, crumpling up the letters before tossing them into the bin without a second glance. Chapter 5. Everyone was excited for the first winter break of high school, but the thought of 4 weeks without Lu Feng made me a little upset. It was the first time in my life that I experienced this feeling of missing someone, but the person in mind was a man. Ugh. It took 5 days to finish the vacation homework we had, and while I was at it, I helped my younger brother with his. Yichen was busy playing his guitar, willing to give up food and sleep for his dream. He had become obsessed with Japanese bands, even hugging his second-hand guitar with his fingers moving in his sleep. The bunch of scoundrels had even formed a band of their own. Their name was, maybe they never agreed on a name, because I remember they asked me to flip through the dictionary with my eyes closed to pick 2 words. In the end, the first word I chose was diarrhea, the second cancer. No matter how you put them, the name would sound terrible, so it was discarded. That unfortunate boy did not score well in his final exams. With the knowledge that my parents gave a reward after getting 3rd place in his course, he came to his cute older brother to borrow some money. I prayed that he would return the money once he received his red packet during the new year. Even though I knew the money was not going to be returned, I still gave it to him. If you had a brother who loved to cling to you as a child, sharing even the 50 cents he found on the ground and looked just like you, your heart would melt too. As long as he wasn't playing his guitar in the next room at odd hours of the morning. Yichen had gone to his friend's house to practice, so I was bored to death and alone. Also, the drama series they were casting was one that could bring you to tears. So I just stared at the commercials, changing the channel or going to the bathroom once the series started again. Mom wanted to watch Xiang Yao's works, so I stayed, becoming very upset by those crying middle-aged women. Until the phone rang. Mother was too absorbed to notice it, so I got up on instinct and went around the dining room table to get the phone. Hello? Who are you looking for? Cheng. I became enlightened immediately. Lu Feng. What happened at home? Why am I hearing someone crying so pitifully? Shut up. Don't curse me. You're the one who's going to have something happen to you. It's just the damn TV show. Really? We're watching it too. After competing about who could use the most insulting words to criticize Chiang Yao's classic works, Lu Feng suddenly asked, "Xiao Chen, do you miss me?" "Disgusting. Do you miss me or not?" he persisted. "A bit." I felt very uncomfortable after saying it out loud, my face slowly turning hot. "Oh," he sounded very happy. "I missed you so much. My dad took me out to have fun for a few days, and the first thing I did when we got home was give you a call. How did you spend the last few days?" "I finished all the homework." I was as proud as a peacock. "You still dare to speak so loudly when you're asking to copy someone else's work." Before we knew it, we had actually talked for 2 whole hours. When I hung up the phone, my left ear had turned red from pressing the phone against it. Turning around, I found that Mom was no longer watching TV, and now she was looking at me. "A friend. He is a boy." Mom was still looking at me with an expression that screamed, "You're lying," while teasing. "Xiao Chena, you're only in your first year of high school. Don't go out with anybody. It's still not good for you. If your father finds out, he'll beat you to death." "I'm not seeing anyone. How do you expect any girl to fall for me if you give me those looks?" "What looks? You look very good, don't you? Your nose looks like a proper nose. Your eyes look like proper eyes. It's just that my nose is positioned above my eyes, isn't it?" "What are you talking about? The ants who live on the ground floor all say Ah Chun and you were born handsome." "Mom, you're not saying this just because I look like you, are you? If I'm ugly, just say so. I won't blame you. Hey, when you were born, you weren't the least bit ugly. Go take a look at the picture on your birth certificate. Look how big your eyes were. You cried all the time when you were little." I made a beeline for my room, leaving Mom and her lingering outside the door. After that day, Lu Feng called daily. Once Mom, Dad, and even Yichen had taken turns picking up the phone and confirming that it was a boy, they no longer questioned me. But being a mother, you never run out of things to nag about. "Xiao Chena, don't spend too much time talking to your friend on the phone. The bills aren't cheap. A phone call from you could pay for a month's worth of meals for a poor family." "Mom, you don't have to be so concerned with our country and its people. He's the one calling, not me, and his family is anything but poor. The 2 of you can talk when you get back to school. A long-distance call costs 60 cents per minute, which means it's $36 for 1 hour and $72 for 2 hours. Mom's math was seldom that good. Young people nowadays don't know how hard it is for their parents to earn money. After hearing his lecture all day, when Lu Feng called at night, he worriedly said, "Let's not talk too much. This must have cost quite a lot after all these hours." "Okay, I'm not going to call after tomorrow." I was dumbfounded. You're really straightforward. I have always been simple. "I'll call you tomorrow then." That doesn't mean your calls are free. There's no need. Such times I always found annoying, but I was too slow to realize it. I couldn't keep my spirits up anymore, and even though I hung up the phone early to go to bed, I couldn't get to sleep. Lu Feng. Well, Lu Feng. That guy was really hateful. Chapter 6. While eating breakfast with heavy circles under my eyes, Yichen was still in his room playing the pipe. Oh, I meant the guitar, while Mom and Dad were in the kitchen cooking. The eating habits of our family were pretty incredible. We ate porridge for all 3 meals. The only difference was how thin or thick it was. The side dishes did not differ much. We usually woke up to basic porridge along with a chicken thigh or crab meat. Someone was knocking on the door. Who could it be? Even if it was the spring festival, there was no need to visit at 7 in the morning. "Xiao Chun, go see who's there. If it's the milkman, pass him the money on the table." Right. Mom ordered fresh milk right after we got back from our trip. Every morning after we had our porridge and crab or chicken, we drank milk. It was pretty amazing. I took the money, opened the door, took the bag from the milkman's hands and paid him. But once the door closed again, there was another knock. "Dude, you are very annoying. If you have any other business here, why not do it in one go?" Angrily, I opened the door. Uncle, you dare to call me uncle when I'm so young." The tall and handsome young man at the door smiled. "Have you gone mute? You can't be serious. I woke up at 4 just to catch the first bus at 5 to see you, and you're not even letting me in." My face turned red for quite a while as I stood there speechless. Finally able to move, I gave the door a strong bang, and feeling that wasn't enough, added another kick. After letting him in, I noticed that he was carrying 2 pieces of tofu in his hands. I pointed at him blankly. "What is that for?" The shops along the street were still closed. The only one open was a tofu shop. Naturally, I had to buy something if the shopkeeper helped me with directions. So the first gift Lu Feng gave Mom and Dad was 2 pieces of tofu. They happened to be making their traditional tofu dish, but realized there was no tofu in the fridge and were debating who should walk down 5 flights of stairs. Seeing the gift, they immediately broke into smiles, praising Lu Feng for being considerate. Lu Feng and I stuck like glue for the whole day, hiding in my small room with the door closed while sitting on the bed and chatting away, smiling as we looked at each other when we weren't talking. I showed my valued collections one by one to Lu Feng. Although they weren't especially rare or special to him, he still patted my head from behind excitedly as he hugged my waist, his chin resting on my shoulder as he looked at the photos and figures seriously, his warm breath tickling my ear. When night had fallen, we were still reluctant to part, so Mom and Dad generously took Lu Feng in for the night. At first he refused before reluctantly accepting. There was nobody better than him when he tried to pretend to be holy. I had long huddled under the covers while waiting for Lu Feng, watching him slowly remove his thick winter clothes. Lu Feng was 4 years older than me, and his body was more developed as well. Although he was skinny, he looked big with his height, while I was still struggling to grow taller. Therefore, seeing his broad, healthy back made me sigh with admiration. "What's happening?" He snuggled inside, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "What does your mother make for you to eat? You're so tall." "Whips." He was smirking again. "Go away. It wouldn't be your height that's growing if you eat that." "My height is tall too." Haha. Perhaps due to the cold weather, we wrapped ourselves in a tight hug in our sleep. The warmth of Lu Feng's body was something I liked. Lu Feng stayed 2 more days before leaving. Mother and Dad were quite enthusiastic, but Yichen was a bit concerned. "Big brother, don't just keep talking with him and ignore me. We started sleeping in separate rooms when we were 6, so why does he sleep with you?" "Okay, I admit it." Yichen seemed to show too much keenness for that to be normal between siblings, but in that moment, we both did not think much about it. 2 days before the start of classes, I couldn't wait anymore and decided to leave Yichen and head directly to school. When I opened the door, I found Lu Feng in the bedroom with his back to me, unpacking his luggage. Hearing some movement, he turned around and smiled widely. "Xiao Chen, I brought you some chocolates." "Lu Feng, I brought you some meat thread." We said this in unison, making each other laugh out loud. My mother's meat thread. Each piece was at least 1 millimeter thick, which was probably 10 times thicker than the ones sold in stores. It was obvious that she did this out of sheer boredom, similar to how she would repeatedly take my old sweaters and unravel them to be made into gloves, then rip the gloves apart to become socks, which were then torn to be knitted as scarves. Lu Feng tried some the other day when he visited us, and due to his casual observation and the fact that hardly anyone praises Mom, she made me pack some in a plastic bag for him. When we sat together on the bed listening to a CD while drinking and eating, the finely made Swiss chocolates of course appealed to me more than my mother's homemade meat thread. I carefully placed each luscious piece of chocolate in my mouth. The slightly bitter taste it left behind as it melted was absolutely addictive, and before I knew it, the box was empty. Just as I had shoved the last piece into my mouth, Lu Feng exclaimed, "Hey, hey, hey, you could have at least left me one. Nothing remains." I opened my mouth playfully. "Unless you want this one." "Sure." He actually pushed me down, and cupping my face, he pressed his lips against mine. I was in shock, groggily allowing his tongue to dig in and lick the half-molten chocolate one more time before eating it. When he released me, he acted like he swallowed before smiling. That was delicious. I could still feel the soft, warm sensation lingering on my lips and the tip of my tongue. It was as if I had been struck by lightning. My mind had gone blank, my face a smoky red as I was speechless. "Your face has turned red." Lu Feng was smiling maliciously. How innocent. That was when I realized he was just fooling around with me. Mixed with anger and shame, I grabbed a pillow and started hitting him. "Son of a bitch, go to hell." He was smiling while dodging my attacks. "You're very interesting," blushing just like a little girl. I tossed the pillow away and ignored him. Those kinds of horrible jokes didn't end after that. In fact, they got worse. When we were together, he would suddenly pinch my waist or thighs when no one noticed, doing tricks that were even more embarrassing. Once I started to blush again, he would always laugh about it, saying, "I'm just playing. It's just a joke. Don't take it seriously." I was different from him. He could joke about it if he liked, but I took things in earnest. Chapter 7. There was only one laundry room per level in the dormitory. The interior was separated into 3 areas: the shower room, the toilets, and the sinks. The showers were open, meaning there were no cubicles separating the shower heads. Lu Feng and I always chose the shower heads that were side by side to talk to each other while we bathed, but due to his recent childish jokes, the atmosphere had become quite tense between us, making our bath time much calmer. There was nobody else in the bathroom. I was washing my hair in silence. Lu Feng was washing next to me until suddenly he commented, "Xiao Chun, your ass is quite voluptuous." I was surprised, awkwardly turning around to wash the soap out of my hair while avoiding his line of sight. "Stop talking nonsense." He wouldn't let me go. "Has anyone ever told you that your legs look more beautiful? They are so long and straight. One more word, and I'll sue you for trying to take liberties with me. Or, you could return the favor," he said. I sneaked a look at his naked body before quickly looking down again. "Forget it. I can't pick up on anything dirtier than you." I was a little nervous, washing myself in a hurry to get dry as soon as possible. Lu Feng was already completely dressed and was waiting, his eyes exploring my body. I put on my pants, raising my head to look at him. "What are you looking at? Stop acting like a troublemaker." He smirked. "I want you to act like one. What are you going to do about it?" Before I could get away, he reached over and pinched my chest hard, over and over again. The pain was enough to make me scream in shock. "What are you doing? Oh, are you mad?" His smile did not fade. "I'm only kidding. Don't be so mean. It hurts. You're using too much force." "Oh, really?" He was still smiling, apparently unaffected. At night, as I lay in bed, the pain in my chest kept me awake. I took off my pajamas to take a look and noticed that my nipples had swollen, with the slightest traces of blood. Lu Feng's force was terrifying. I found his sudden act of violence hard to understand, his cool looks making him even more intolerable. But he was, after all, my best friend. Letting this kind of thing affect our relationship would be making a big deal out of nothing. Lu Feng became more and more presumptuous, touching me here and there in front of the others, apparently getting entertainment from my nervous appearance. One day, after night self-study, 8 of us went back to our dorm room. When the men got together to talk, the topic under discussion would definitely be about women. As they continued to talk, the argument gradually went overboard. Someone had suddenly issued a challenge to Lu Feng. "Lu Feng, why don't you do it with your wife once so we can see? Besides me, who else could be Lu Feng's wife?" The rest laughed out loud. My face darkened as I sat on Lu Feng's bed reading, pretending that I hadn't heard a single word. However, before I knew it, Lu Feng had responded with a short "fine" before pushing me onto the bed, quickly mounting my waist. The applause was loud enough to wake the dead. With one hand, Lu Feng skillfully immobilized both of my arms, while the other unbuttoned my shirt without hesitation. "Lu Feng, stop messing around." I was getting more anxious and angrier by the minute. Once my shirt was fully unbuttoned, all 6 of them cheered enthusiastically again. Lu Feng still wore a faint smile as he explored my body with his hands. I didn't know until that moment that I would have to endure this. Of course, I wouldn't actually do it, but being publicly humiliated like this still made me purse my lips firmly as I yielded. His hand was actually sliding down to my waist to unbuckle my belt, making me turn pale. "Lu Feng, you're taking this too far. Lu Feng, hurry up. Go for it." Hurrah! My brainless roommates were too slow to realize the gravity of the situation. "Lu Feng, I am getting angry." Dimly, I remembered my trump card. He was still tearing at my clothes like a man possessed, his hand trying to find its way into my pants before I caught his hand. As if struck by lightning, I yelled, managing to break free of his grip with a surprising amount of force before slapping him across the face. "Motherfucker." He was trembling as he gritted his teeth. It was then that they realized they had taken the joke too far. After a long silence, Xiao Shan spoke. "Xiao Chun, don't cry." Lu Feng was joking. Lu Feng was staring at me blankly, his face finally showing a hint of unease. "Get lost." I rejected him harshly. "Get lost. Xiao Chun, I am dash." "Just kidding, right? Get lost. Go mess around with someone else." I used the back of my hand to wipe away my tears before getting up and picking up my glasses from the floor. "You can easily find someone else to play your little games with. So don't always take me as your clown." Chapter 8. I stopped talking to Lu Feng. Lu Feng was the worst. Even at his age, he hadn't once learned how to say the word sorry. So how was he going to be the first to give in? When we had no choice but to meet sometimes, his face was more rigid than mine. For a few days, I would not stop dreaming of Lu Feng. That arrogant guy would soon have a 180-degree change in personality, gently holding my hand while saying, "Xiao Chun, I'm sorry. Please don't ignore me." Then I would cling to his shirt and scream my eyes out. Waking up after crying halfway through, I was still lying on the 80-centimeter single-size mattress on the top bunk. I poked my head down to take a look at Lu Feng on the bottom bunk, but all I saw below was him still sound asleep. "Cheng Yichen, you should be dreaming." Similar dreams kept repeating, making me secretly call myself stupid every time I saw Lu Feng's indifferent face. "Xiao Chun, don't be mad. It's my fault. He had enough experience this time. Stop consoling me. I know I'm dreaming." As expected, I woke up in the blink of an eye. Just as I was feeling despondent, I saw Lu Feng sitting by my side, his head low as he looked at me with a small smile. "Are you awake? Xiao Chun, let's make peace." I started crying again. "Lu Feng, I only dreamed of you talking to me. When I woke up, I was afraid that you were going to ignore me again." Lu Feng smiled kindly, gently caressing my head. "You're not dreaming now. Don't cry. Ring." My eyes widened, my heart pounding. It was the school's alarm clock. I sat up, wiped the sweat from my forehead, and looked at nothing for a while, grasping at nothing. Then I silently dressed and got out of bed. I inadvertently took a look at Lu Feng's bed. It was empty. I pondered for a moment. Unable to bear the curiosity, I asked, "Lu Feng didn't come back last night?" The others had barely woken up as well, and were in the midst of grabbing their towels and toothbrushes to wash up. Xiao Shan was looking at the mirror closely, squeezing his chin as he said with admiration and jealousy, "Lu Feng, didn't you know? He started going out with the school goddess, and he almost didn't come back at all. I have no idea where he took that girl last night, but that bastard is fast." I stood there rigidly. Only a few days had passed, and he'd already gotten a girlfriend, going for the kill at the speed of light. That really sounded like his style. Only a nerd like me would be carelessly worrying about a friend like that. That Lu Feng fellow was the true definition of easygoing. He didn't even take me seriously. His circle of friends was large anyway, so one less wouldn't matter. Unlike me, who took my one or two friends as treasures, I actually had such a wild dream. I was ridiculous. While thinking about it, I slowly started to laugh. "What are you laughing about?" "Nothing, nothing." I smiled widely as I shook my hands. It was a friendship that lasted less than half a year, so it wasn't a big deal. I lowered my head to find my toothbrush and toothpaste. My stomach felt strangely painful. Lu Feng did not show up for the 4 classes in the morning. I had no intention of guessing where that person was or what they were doing. I focused on writing my notes and doing practice problems, using the break time to finish 2 complete sets of math questions. My productivity level was much higher than usual, surprising my desk partner, who exclaimed, "Xiao Chen, you're too aggressive. You're basically doing this at supersonic speed." "The speed at which you solve the questions is very important," I said seriously. "There are so many questions on the exams now. If you don't hurry, you won't be able to complete them." "No wonder you're 20 points higher than me every time in Chinese," my desk partner muttered. Chinese papers were always too long for most people to finish within 2 hours. I was probably the only exception. In the afternoon, the bottom bunk was still empty. I couldn't keep doing the practice questions anymore and started counting sheep instead. 403. "Cheng Yichen, someone is looking for you." The guy on duty downstairs yelled. I'm coming. I ran downstairs. The only one who would call the school would be my strict father. To call it this time would mean it was urgent and most likely bad news. "Dad, are you Cheng Yichen?" Silence. The voice of a young woman. I was deceived. "You're Lu Feng's close friend, right?" I didn't know how I should respond, so I gave an ambiguous in response. "That idiot brother of mine was stabbed for stealing someone else's bride. He's not dead yet, but could you help me go and take a look at him?" Chapter 9. That idiot brother of mine was stabbed for stealing someone else's bride. He's not dead yet, but could you help me go and take a look at him? The first thought that popped into my mind was that she was joking. What? What do you mean? Lu Feng, my brother, he fought with someone and was stabbed. He's lying in that small hotel next to the school. Because he's afraid of getting more demerits, he doesn't dare go to the hospital or go back to school. I don't have time to take care of him, so help me go visit him. Oh, and make sure my father doesn't find out, or he'll chop off that idiot's legs, and I asked Xiaoshan if I could take the afternoon off, and without having time to explain, I hurried off with my bag. Lu Feng and I used to frequent that hotel. When there was something to celebrate, for example, when I placed first in a subject, his father would send him some money, and we would both go there to eat. One of us ordering wine to drink and the other juice while we sat and chatted. That's why we were close with the owner. Once he saw me, he nodded in greeting. Lu Feng is on the second floor, room 3. I calmed down a bit, thinking that Lu Feng's injury shouldn't be that bad. If he was bleeding out deeply, the owner wouldn't be so insensitive as to leave a body lying in the room. The door wasn't locked, just closed. My heart was beating hard. I was afraid to see Lu Feng covered in blood, lying in bed without a trace of his usual spirit. Lu Feng. I opened the door and nervously called out in a low voice. That guy who had been stabbed and should be bleeding and screaming as if on the verge of death was casually lying on the bed with his leg propped up while watching TV. I immediately became as silent as a lamb, secretly wanting to stab him with a knife before quietly leaving. Xiaochen. He was slightly surprised by my appearance. I felt heat low in my neck. Your sister said you were injured and asked me to come take a look at you, but you seem to be in terrific health. Was that knife as thick as a needle? How did I not think that the knife could be one of those little ones we use to sharpen our pencils? Curse. Oh, the knife. Lu Feng smiled and started gesturing. It was a watermelon knife, about this long. Stop talking nonsense. I was getting agitated again. Lu Feng flickered. I'm not lying. He lifted his lap and showed me his right arm. There was indeed a thick gauze on it with faint traces of blood. It just didn't hit me in the chest. That damn fat ass tried to attack me from behind, but I didn't have time to avoid it, so I used my arm to block instead. I sighed in relief, though still a bit worried. Is it a deep wound? Okay, my bones were unharmed. He glanced down at his arm, and then looked at my pale face before smiling. Don't worry, it's not serious. I'll be fine in a few days. I can't go back to school for a while. I can only afford one punishment. No more demerits. My father is going to kill me. As long as you're fine, then it's fine. I became uncomfortable again when he started looking at me. Your sister is quite worried about you, so she asked me to pay you a visit to see if you're all right. My sister, he snorted. That nosy woman. I already told her it was only a small cut on my arm. I knew she was going to think too much. I just asked her to transfer money to deal with the situation. I broke 2 machines in the arcade and had to pay a large sum. That bastard still dared to blackmail me. In the past, we used to be able to talk endlessly together, but I could hardly find 2 words in response now even after struggling. Rest well. I'll help you pick up your assignments for the next few days when I get back. Hey. He raised his eyebrows and looked at me. I'm going. Remembering the determination I had made, I turned to go out, ready to close the door. Xiaochen. Silence. Since you're here, why don't you stay for a while before you go? We haven't spoken in 6 days. I guess you still have some conscience that lets you remember that 6 days have passed. I slowly moved around and took a seat. He reached out to grab my shoulder with his left hand and forcefully pulled me to his side. Why are you sitting so far away? Does your arm still hurt? Having nothing to respond with, I tried to find something else to talk about. Okay, it doesn't hurt now. Of course, I said coldly. Even turning into a ghost would be an honor if you were to die for someone so pretty. She is the school goddess, after all. Getting stabbed for her would be nothing. I feel like getting stabbed was worth it too. He was honest. I was furious, flipping my head away to not look at him. Be careful in the future. Don't say goodbye to your life pretending to be so heroic for a pretty girl. He chuckled. I was getting more frustrated, so I stood up. Let the high school beauty take care of you for me. I'm leaving. Xiaochen, he suddenly asked. Are you jealous? Are you crazy? As if I had been caught with my hand in the cookie jar, I jumped and stiffened. What you do with others is none of my business. It's not like I'm someone special to you. He smiled, suddenly yanking me up with an outstretched hand, causing me to land right in his lap. What's wrong with you? I pushed the arm around my waist away from me, embarrassed. I'm not a woman. Stop touching me. Xiaochen, I truly believe that this injury was worth it. It's fine, it's fine. Stop being lovesick. I was annoyed. Go away. Don't be so close to me. If I wasn't hurt, you wouldn't have come looking for me, would you? I paused, considering what he'd said before I finally understood. My face was heating up. We are friends after all. If you die, I have to at least attend your funeral. Don't show that kind of expression. It makes me feel like kissing you. You must have gone crazy thinking about women so much. I hit his hand. Let me go? Don't you find a man sitting on your lap disgusting? That gross guy hugged me strongly. I could feel his breathing, gentle and warm, on the top of my head. I tensed without meaning to, and without knowing the reason why. I lowered my head, scared to look him in the eyes. Chen, let me see your face. I have something to tell you. I looked up, my guard down. My vision blurred. I could feel something soft and warm on my lips. My mind went blank. With one hand supporting my head, he kissed me passionately, his tongue sliding, fighting against my clenched teeth. Recovering slightly from the shock, I had a chance to resist, but somehow my jaw gave way, allowing him full entry. Once his tongue touched mine, I could feel the energy draining out of me, leaving me to lie helplessly in his arms. Lu Feng's tongue was hot and fierce. The force he used while ferociously sucking on my bottom lip was enough to make me feel an itchy sensation. As the kiss went on, it got deeper, and it left me breathless. Lu Feng released me and patted my suddenly pale face. Idiot, breathe. I finally started sucking in breaths, shaking a bit as I did so. Fool, you can breathe when you're kissing. I was panting for quite some time before my heart calmed down. Lu Feng, this is not right. He cupped my face and looked into my eyes. This isn't right, I stammered. It's not right. I'm a man. This is bad. Shoo. Lu Feng hurriedly put a finger to his lips. I stayed silent, looking at him nervously. I like you. His expression and tone were not mixed with any confusion. But once I opened my mouth, his lips immediately cut me off. This time I was out of it long before I could show the slightest resistance. Chapter 10. Lu Feng told me to look for him after I thought things through. I couldn't think straight, so I didn't visit again for a long time. I wasn't really running from the issue. You have to believe me on this. My attempts to answer some practical questions failed terribly. For English comprehension, which usually got full marks, I got 5 questions wrong yesterday. I was very affected by this, dejectedly sitting down to assess what exactly had led to my sudden downfall academically. Was it lack of sleep that had affected my brain power? My bad mood, which had led to a decrease in analytical skills? Or was it the pollution in the air that severely starved the brain of oxygen? All of it. It had nothing to do with that person. Absolutely nothing at all. Lu Feng, you're back. Someone in the hallway waved loudly. I was scared to death, looking around desperately for a place to hide. Cabinet. Box. The drawers? As my thoughts ran wild, the door swung open with a loud bang. I immediately resumed my position and pretended that I was doing my work. Chen, I'm back. His voice sounded cheerful. I dug into the books and busily wrote something, pretending I was too busy to even look up. Are you busy doing homework? Yes. Then I won't bother you. Okay. I inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Chen, your book is upside down. Oh. I hastened to turn the book over. I looked at it again. It was flipped. That meant I wasn't holding it upside down before. The smile on Lu Feng's face disappeared. He put his backpack on the floor and sat on the edge of the bed. Come here. I bit my bottom lip as I slowly made my way toward him. Sit down. I followed his orders obediently. He habitually put his arm over my shoulder, shaking me as I cringed in the seat. You're scared of me? Startled, I shook my head vigorously. Lu Feng frowned and grabbed me, making me look at him. Look at me. I'm going to ask you a few questions, and all you have to do is answer yes or no. I stared directly at him, not daring to move an inch. About what happened that day, do you feel upset? I shook my head. Are you happy to be with me? I nodded. Are you happy that I have a girlfriend? I shook my head. Were you worried when I was hurt? I nodded. You like being around me, right? I nodded. You like being around me better than her, right? I nodded. He showed a very satisfied expression, his voice softening. So, have you felt comfortable kissing me? I blushed a deep red. Tell the truth. After a long pause, I slowly nodded my head. Does that mean did you like me too? After another long struggle, I finally nodded again. Then that's all that matters. Lu Feng. I started awkwardly. I am a man. Nonsense. Anyone can see that. A man who likes another man. That's weird. Are you saying I'm weird? No. I stammered. You're fine, but we're both men. Stop talking nonsense. He impatiently grabbed my jaw. We both like each other, so let's be together. You don't have to worry so much. Who said I like you? Can you not make such strange conclusions? He immediately lowered his head in search of my lips. No, dash. I like you. What's wrong with that? He said as his lips moved closer to my ear. In truth, there was nothing wrong with that. That's why, in the end, I didn't push him away. Chapter 11. Disregarding ethics. Lu Feng and I were very happy to be together. The fear of being discriminated against for being in a same-sex relationship was still incomparable to the strong attraction I felt toward him. Under the cover of night and the shadows cast by the trees, we secretly kissed. When the lights went out, we would hide in his bed and talk softly while caressing each other. A secret love like this was the kind that could grow fiercer and stronger more easily, to the point where it became unstoppable. Even when we were in a large group, our eyes held the same passion when we looked at each other. The 2-month summer vacation made me miss Lu Feng more than ever before. I was dreaming about him almost every night. As for what my dreams were about, it's better not to talk about it, or I might make a show of myself. To the extent that my emotions were heightened, I found myself waking up at midnight and discovering that my lower body was in a sticky, wet state. My body had developed more slowly than others, so this had never happened before. Although I knew what it was, the fact that the person in my dreams was a man named Lu Feng made me very highly strung. The next day, when Lu Feng called at night, I locked myself in my room and told him honestly. That precocious guy laughed as he listened, making me uncomfortable and eventually angry. What are you laughing at? It's your fault for entering my dreams and doing this and that to me. What did I do to you? What else can you do besides act like a troublemaker? I was angry and frustrated. Oh, right. I'm a troublemaker. He chuckled mischievously for some time before his voice deepened. Chen, I wish you were here now. My face flushed. If you continue, I'm going to call the police. Be good. Let me hold you for a while. Sure, I'll let you. Since they were just empty words, I generously agreed. I'm touching your waist. MH, it seems like you've gotten thinner. Even though I knew he was just pretending, I could feel myself going numb. It's summer. Obviously, I was going to lose some weight. Now let me touch your chest. Have you slimmed down too much? Your lips? Don't bite your lips. Unclench your jaw. I want to put my finger on. I listened to him in silence, my erratic heartbeat growing. I'm going to kiss you. I shuddered. Following Lu Feng's words, I subconsciously began to explore with my right hand, imagining that they were the hot, rough hands of Lu Feng, all the way until they came to the place between my thighs. Silence. Are you comfortable? I gasped heavily as I stared at the white liquid on my hand, a bittersweet shame filling me. How shy? Your first time? Yeah. My face turned red again. Lu Feng remained silent for a while, his breathing becoming more labored. I bit hard on my lips as I held the phone, guessing if he was doing the same thing I just did, and unknowingly felt a surge of arousal again. I waited until he caught his breath, and then cheekily questioned, Are you comfortable? He said, Of course. It's obvious that doing it with Chen would be comfortable. Shameless. This insatiable son of a bitch. After laughing for a moment, Lu Feng then suddenly said, Yichen, I love you. Only many years later did I realize that this confession, where Lu Feng used my full name, was more sincere and valuable than any other honeyed words. That summer, I celebrated my 14th birthday. The years before, I had been as pure as snow, a blank sheet of paper. Every little mark imprinted on me was made by Lu Feng from then on. When school was about to open for a new semester, we agreed to return 2 days early. Yichen had already lost all hope in this older brother who chose his friends over himself. Lu Feng had gone off somewhere and had tanned to coal black. By comparison, I stayed at home studying and was no different from the skin color of a boiled chicken. Lu Feng was very proud of his new skin tone. I spent a lot of time in Hawaii to get this tan. You dare not like it. I scoffed. But it was true that Lu Feng seemed even more dashing and charming that way, so I secretly swallowed hard when he wasn't looking. Come here. I'll let you test the strength of my arms. Lu Feng proudly flexed his muscular arms. They are only going to be used by you. I snorted. Nobody wants those pieces of bamboo. Those arms that looked like bamboo pieces then easily picked me up and threw me onto the bed. Seeing that he looked like he was about to aggressively start kissing me, I yelled for help. Lu Feng laughed. Before you start yelling for help, can you let go of my neck? Get lost. I felt embarrassed and angry for the umpteenth time after being exposed. We had 2 days to ourselves, and once the bedroom door was closed, we got together without any worries. Strictly speaking, the love between us was still pure, of course, stopping at the level of just kissing. We hadn't even helped each other with our hands yet. I wasn't sure about Lu Feng's thoughts, but as for me, at this age, talking about this was too soon. And as for the last stage, I was terrified by the idea. The two of us would lie shirtless together and chat, sometimes kissing. The Lu Feng from then was more charming than anyone else in my eyes. I always felt that the fact that this type of manly man preferred a boy as typecast, fine and ordinary as me over women, was even harder to understand than any of my mother's dishes. I gladly let my hands roam free, touching his muscular chest. I envied it. Did you finish playing? That's a total of $300, please. You're really cheap. That's because you're a VIP, so I gave you a discount. Don't be ungrateful. I am an old customer. Give me more discounts. Buy one, get one free. I smiled mischievously, allowing my hands to run wild. Lu Feng grabbed my hands. His expression was serious. If you keep touching me like that, I'm really going to start acting like a troublemaker. Don't say it like you've never acted like this before. Lu Feng secretly smiled. I'll let you see what a real troublemaker looks like. With a forceful tug at my waist, I became the one on top. I burst out laughing. So being a troublemaker means you're the one cornered, huh? Lu Feng cut short my laughter with a quick motion, pressing my head against him. Lying on top of him, I could hear his powerful young heart beating as fast as mine. And at the thought that it was because of me, I trembled with emotion. As our tongues intertwined, the hand on my waist slid slowly. Very aware of the thin piece of fabric that separated us, he rubbed his hips gently against mine. I paused, tensing as I felt his desire expanding and pressing against my lower abdomen. Once his hands reached it, I began to breathe heavily. My cotton shorts were removed, followed by my underwear. I hugged him tightly, not daring to move. This kind of situation was like a first time because there were no barriers between us. I felt electrified. Lu Feng hugged me tightly as well, slowly rubbing against me, both hands running wild below the waist. It was originally a situation where a single touch could have set us off. So these simple moves easily brought us to a climax. What Lu Feng left on me was sticky and wet. So when we stood in silence holding each other, we were both a bit embarrassed. After a long time, Lu Feng made me sit with him, allowing me to rest my back against his chest, his hand reaching out in front to touch me. Lu Feng was my first love, so I couldn't judge whether his abilities were good or bad. However, he could definitely easily turn me on, so it wasn't long before I was a complete disaster. You are weak, he laughed. Luckily, your future husband will be me. Otherwise, you won't be able to satisfy me. I was afraid your hand would start to get tired, so I did it quickly. I replied, how was it? How was what? Compared to doing it yourself, how was it? I blushed a bright red. Just a little better. Ah. He smiled proudly, hugging me tightly from behind. Hey. Why are you? I was a bit embarrassed. One could, of course, have certain thoughts when embracing one's wife. I'll help you with that. No need, he said generously. I'm afraid your clumsy movements would leave me disabled. I'm going to do that right now then. My counterattack was stopped midway, and though I had seen it coming, his hot, rough touch still managed to make my heart beat faster and give me goosebumps. If it hurts, let me know. I reminded him, and with whatever little confidence I had, I started awkwardly. Just as I was working hard, Lu Feng laughed. Please, can you not use the expression you had when I was eating fries at KFC? Be quiet. I said fiercely. I'm doing my best to please you. Stop complaining. I knew it was inappropriate to be as serious as when I was answering analysis questions, but when you love someone, you want that person to be happy, and that was a serious matter in itself. Lu Feng stopped laughing. He silently lowered his head to look at me, then leaned in, pinched my open jaw harshly, and kissed me. My mind went blank and my limbs became useless once more as he started playing with my tongue. No rush, he whispered against my lips. I answered with a short, oh, before continuing clumsily. My abilities were truly terrible, especially when I was in the middle of a kiss like this where I couldn't feel how hard or how fast it was going anymore. He nevertheless reached his climax, getting the white liquid on both of us. Lu Feng used a soft towel to wipe me off, then firmly gave me a hug. Chen, do you love me? I nodded my head vigorously. We're going to be very happy together, right? I nodded again. We're going to be together forever, okay? I nodded desperately. And even though it was a happy moment, I buried my face in his chest and cried miserably. Nobody knew why. Sometimes misfortune spreads its wings like a great bird. No matter how far away it is, the shadow it casts will always be so clear and real. Chapter 12. From the time Lu Feng and I got together, our scores became more clearly divided. Every time the results were released, he felt terribly embarrassed. I was happily looking at the two names on the list that were miles apart, while Lu Feng would say, "It's because you've taken all my energy." Shameless. Our homeroom teacher saw that we were quite close, and he specially found me to talk about 2 points. 1. I have to know how to maintain my grades and not get dragged down by Lu Feng. 2. Friends should help each other. Since I was the one doing better, I must do everything possible to help the one who was doing worse. Using this as an excuse, the two of us could publicly sit close together during self-study, our heads, arms, and legs touching each other like Siamese twins. You have an American mother after all. Why is your English only at this level? I know how to speak it, but I can't write it. He waved the test sheet covered in red crosses sadly in his hands. Then again, even if you gave this kind of paper to my mom, she might not have passed it either. Look at these questions. They're obviously trying to make things difficult for us. It's like going out on the streets and asking a random Chinese person what the difference is between reply to and explain. Let's see if you can answer that. That guy's ability to put together convincing arguments and change the subject was impressive. After 2 or 3 sentences, I was lost. Only after chatting for a while did I realize that I had tasks I was supposed to carry out. I said helplessly, "Lu Feng, our teacher asked me to come here to help you." He smirked, no doubt thinking of something dirty. Help me then. Honestly, we hadn't touched each other for quite some time. There were too many eyes in the dormitory and classroom, so we didn't dare do much. The most we did was during tutoring time, where our hands intertwined below the table, making us completely familiar with each other's hands. He always used his thumb to stroke my hand gently and slowly, starting from the palm. It was an intimate act, and once I got used to it, I could never forget that feeling. Having suppressed our desires for too long, the way we looked at each other was like we could never get enough to be satisfied, nor wear enough clothes to feel warm. There was a time during the usual self-study period when the halls were empty, and he had just received a scolding and was leaving the teacher's office with a face that suggested he couldn't care less, when that bold guy grabbed me and pushed me into a long kiss. The result was that we had to clumsily collect the papers scattered on the ground, and 3 of them were still missing after a long time. On Saturday morning, I woke up and went about my usual routine, standing by Lu Feng's bed and bending down to put on my shoes before being startled by his hug from behind. I didn't dare make too much noise, so I only lightly patted his hands to signal that we shouldn't waste time, as there were people already waking up. Lu Feng tightened the hug. "Don't go out and study anymore. Stay in the bedroom with me." "Doesn't Fatty stay locked in the bedroom all day?" I added, "What can we do with him around?" "Chen, how about going to my house?" "Huh? To meet my in-laws?" His Chinese was horrible. I couldn't even tell the difference between the words grandparents and in-laws. "No, my father is in America. There's no one home." Even though his tone hinted at something that made me turn red, the temptation of being alone together won me over. I took out all the notes and textbooks from my bag and brought an empty one in order not to arouse suspicion. Lu Feng simply stuffed his wallet and keys into his pocket before leaving empty-handed. Lu Feng's house was only about an hour and a half away by car on the highway. That meant that before the doors closed at 11 p.m. on Sunday, we still had 37 hours of free time. 37 hours wasn't long enough, so we couldn't waste a single second. Before the door was even fully closed, we pressed our lips together, but after using too much force, our teeth collided, causing me to let out a cry of pain as I pulled back, feeling a little embarrassed. "Don't. Let's try it again." I didn't even have time to smile before he kissed me hard again. "Oh, he's biting. If he's that fierce, my lips might split soon." "Hey, don't suck." "No, I'm getting dizzy again. Let's go to my room." Lu Feng's voice was low, his breathing ragged. For what? Nothing. Just go in and take a look. In principle, I was really only looking around, but before I knew it, we had ended up in bed. You're very heavy. Don't lie on me. You're going to squeeze all the air out of me. I can't breathe. Don't worry. I can help you do CPR. Silence. No. Let me go. Do you want to try again? If you're human, you need a break, right? How can you keep going all day without stopping? I can. Come here. I'm hungry. We'll order food. We'll continue after we eat. Silence. Disregarding my pride as a man, I have to admit that my energy and stamina were no match for that enthusiastic and passionate young man, whose needs went beyond those of most people. I'm not going to do this anymore. I lay dead tired on the velvet sheets. You suck. Lu Feng looked at my pale face. You just missed dinner. An intellectual like me works mainly with the brain. I can't do physically strenuous tasks like this. You call this physically tiring? Is my too heavy? Even if you have a dirty mind, there should be a limit. Hey, don't be silly. I'm really tired. Just one more time. I clenched my teeth. Do it yourself. My hands are about to break. I might even need to use my legs to ride in the future. Are your hands sore? Poor you. Hypocrite. Who was the cause of this? Under the covers, he expertly massaged my hands. I felt more at ease, forgetting for a moment that I was supposed to be mad at him. Xiao Chun. My palm, my wrist, then my arm. Great. Use a little more force. I relaxed, ready to fall asleep like this. I want you. Haven't we already done it before? I asked, confused. Why are you being so sudden? Not the way we've done it in the past. He smiled. I want to hug you. I widened an expressionless eye. Hug? How do you want to hug me? I had always thought that the most one could do was use the mouth. Chapter 13. Not the way we've done it in the past, he smiled. I want to hug you. I widened an expressionless eye. Hug? How do you want to hug me? I had always thought that the most one could do was use the mouth. I'll teach you. When Lu Feng wanted to hypnotize someone into doing something, his kissing skills were amazing. Just as I was being kissed to the point where I couldn't think straight, I felt an unexpected sharp pain there. I struggled in shock, not prepared for the pain. What's that? It's too painful. Take it out. Don't be afraid, he laughed mysteriously. It's just fingers for now. I finally understood what he meant. No, I don't want this. Take it out. Don't worry. It won't hurt you once we use some lube. I'll go slow. No, I said firmly. I don't want this at all. I won't do it. Let me go. I was still a man who lacked nothing. So who would be willing to be penetrated? Thinking about it, allowing something that size to enter a place that wasn't made for that was terrifying. Xiao Chun. Lu Feng slowly frowned. I could tell he was getting upset, so I tried to make up for it. Let's talk about this another day. For today, I'll just help you with my mouth. Okay. I was really terrified. That way of making love was no different from killing someone. What's wrong with you? Scared? How could I not be afraid? If you were in my place, I want to see you trying to say that you're not afraid. Lu Feng pressed down hard on me, cutting me off with his lips. His large hands traveled up my back, fingers trying to force their way in. No. I turned around anxiously. Let's do this another time, okay? Give me a little time to prepare. Stop talking crap, he said with impatience, his grip not loosening in the least. My body stilled once he inserted a finger. I did my best to keep myself from pulling away. He added another finger, and by then, my tears were about to fall. Don't do this, Lu Feng. I can't. It's too painful. Everything's going to be okay. Just hang in there for a while. I bit my lips and stopped talking. How could it be okay? A cold sensation. He had squeezed out some lube. The supposed lube didn't even help other than providing a cool sensation. My legs were awkwardly bent against my chest. I was no different from a puppet, passive and rigid. How was this different from rape? Upset, I turned my head again, avoiding eye contact with him. I could feel it pressing against me. The fear I felt was similar to the fear I had when I was a child and still panicked about getting injections. The fear I felt was the same as what I felt in the hospital after the alcohol had been applied while waiting for the pain. With only a bit of force, he pushed inside. It already hurt to the point where I was shaking. No, it can't quite fit. This way of making love that lacked communication and sensitivity was not what I wanted at all. Absolutely not. He pushed a little more. I couldn't take it anymore and started to protest. Stop. Lu Feng. What's wrong with you? He wasn't having a good time holding back his anger either, his expression impatient as he used even more force to pin my legs down. No, the pain was blinding. I started hitting him violently. Stop being so annoying. It was obvious that he was angry. I took a deep breath and fell silent. I stopped. The supposed wonder, the supposed happiness, the supposed admiration, all were lies. I like you. I'll take care of you. Those words were also all lies. In and out, in and out. I could only feel two things. One, the pain. The other, the pain. Stunned, I looked at the ceiling. After the various levels of torture and pain finally finished, Lu Feng then pulled back, satisfied, panting as he lay beside me, one arm still on my waist. I stayed stunned for a while, but then I realized that my first experience doing this with another man had been finished in this way. I turned my gaze to Lu Feng. His eyes were lazily closed. He didn't realize that I hadn't even gotten turned on. I turned onto my side so my back was facing him and buried my face in the pillow, hoping to get some sleep. What's wrong? Silence. Why aren't you talking? Silence. What do you want me to tell you? Where could I find the energy to talk to you now? You're not happy? His tone hardened. No, I said slowly. Then why? Silence. You're not happy with what happened a moment ago. He leaned in and tried to turn me to face him, a little angry. Aren't you willing to have sex with me? No, it's not that. I forced myself to cheer up. I like him. I don't want to fight with him. I don't want him to be mad at me. Lu Feng looked at me coldly. If you think you've been raped, you can go to the police. I froze. Look at yourself in the mirror. What kind of expression is that? Lu Feng straightened up. If you're not willing to have sex with me, then there's no reason for us to be together. The air immediately turned cold. Only 12 hours had passed from the precious seconds and minutes we had out of the 37 hours to ourselves. The remaining hours seemed too long to bear. I spoke hesitantly. What about? I think I should go back to school first. It's your choice. He didn't even turn to look. I could only get up and put on my clothes, go back to the living room to find my backpack, and then throw the door open. The pain was hard to bear. It hurt every time I moved. Walking from Lu Feng's mansion to the bus station almost broke me. After spending a while with my backpack in front of the ticket office, I realized that I didn't have enough money. I moved sadly to a corner and sat down. It was a bit cold, so I wrapped my arms around myself tightly. I'd rather die than borrow money from Lu Feng again. I had no money, so I couldn't take the return bus. I was completely lost as to what I should do. Why couldn't he understand my feelings? After all, I am still a man. I like him, but I still have my pride as a man. Why couldn't he let me think about this for a while? Let me hesitate before throwing away that last bit of my pride for him. He got so upset when I hesitated. Who would run away from their lover on a winter's night, just after making love? I wiped away my tears, rubbing my legs together to keep warm. There weren't many people at that late hour, so the lady at the ticket counter kept looking at me curiously. What was so strange about this? Have you never seen a man cry? I sniffled and hung my head. It was very cold. Chapter 14. Someone ran hastily. One ticket for the next trip to XX. He was breathing heavily, his tone impatient. I raised my head to look at the person standing by the ticket counter in shock. Do you want the one that leaves at 10:40? 40. He turned his head to look at the large clock on the wall, but his eyes met mine instead. It doesn't matter. Seeing that he was slowly making his way toward me, I instinctively wrapped my legs around my chest a little tighter. Why are you sitting here instead of coming back? He was expressionless. I don't have enough money. I felt pathetic. Lu Feng's expression immediately turned cold. So you'd rather sit here until tomorrow and then come back to look for me? Do you really see me as a rapist now? I stood up in rage, gripped my backpack, and prepared to leave, only to be seized by the arm. Where are you going? You don't have to worry about me. I had a lump in my throat. You don't even care what I think anyway. The lady at the ticket counter looked at us curiously. Lu Feng firmly dragged me by the wrist out of the bus station. Come home with me. No. He gritted his teeth and looked at me. Are you coming back or not? I'm not going back with you. The emotions that had accumulated inside me during the night broke free as I hit him blindly. Go away, you bastard, telling lies like, I like you, I love you. You only care about yourself. You've never thought about my feelings. You've never asked me how I felt. That's right, it was hard for me to put up with. I was perfectly fine, so why did I have to become gay? Why do I have to be subjugated by someone else when I'm a normal man? If I didn't like you, why would I put up with it? Why? Would I become a pervert? There was no one else there. In the middle of the empty road, I began to cry. He never realized how much pressure I had to bear in this relationship. How was I supposed to understand what the word homosexual meant to a normal 14-year-old boy? I was so afraid that people would start calling me pervert, afraid that I might be hated and cursed, afraid of my conservative parents and my brother, afraid of having AIDS, afraid that I wouldn't be able to live in peace in this world. Had he ever thought about that for me? I was different from him. He was Lu Feng, and I was Cheng Yichen. The strictest and most conservative family produced the weakest man. How could I be so brave? If not because I loved him, if not because I wanted to stay by his side. I muttered incoherently while crying until Lu Feng took me into his arms, silencing me. Don't be afraid. My head was pressed against his chest, listening to his heavy heart pounding inside. His pronunciation was a bit off. His tongue must have been bitten by me with force when I was taking revenge. I'm here, so there's nothing to fear. He was lying. But I was willing to believe this lie forever. Come back with me, okay? I lowered my head. My eyes were swollen. It hurts when you walk, doesn't it? I'll carry you. Lu Feng always carried me with ease, treating me like a backpack. However, this time, he walked slowly and steadily. I lay down on his broad, sturdy back, glimpsing the left side of his lovely face. I suddenly felt very tired, but at the same time, at peace. Xiao Chun. In silence, I listened to him. Anyone would want to do that with someone they like, and that goes for me too. I couldn't resist. I was so happy I did it with you, and I hoped you'd be as happy as I was. But seeing your reaction. But I'm sorry. Lu Feng seemed to be stuttering. I love you. He slightly moved his head to the right, as if feeling shy. I don't want to force you, nor hurt you. I like you too much. That's why I did. After remaining silent for a while, he shook his head in frustration. Damn it. I'm not good at talking. I only have you, and you never listen to anything. I put my head on his shoulder, hugging his neck tighter. Lu Feng carried me on his back, walking slowly on the road in the still and peaceful night. His back was warm, and every time a gust of wind blew, unknown insects of the night sang courageously in small voices, cheep chip, cheep chip. This later became a memory that would constantly reappear in my dreams when I felt lonely. Chapter 15. Thinking about it now, we were really in love back then. It was just that at such a young age, we couldn't carry the weight of the consequences of our relationship. That's why it always felt unsettled and worrisome. We didn't know how we could keep this going forever. We had already done everything possible, including sex, but we needed something like a promise that this could continue. And even if that something was abstract, it was at least a form of comfort. The young teacher who taught us English was Christian, so his wedding was celebrated in the church near the school. The students were all very happy to see the beautiful lady wearing her wedding dress as she shyly walked down the aisle. There was a great number of people there to see the wedding. We could hardly fit everyone inside the church. Lu Feng took his time getting ready, so he could only stand by the door to see the wedding take place. Since no one would notice the two of us standing at the back, Lu Feng secretly held my hand. Every time we held hands, we interlocked our fingers, our palms touching. In the past, I never realized how beautiful the language of the hand could be. The temperature of our hands, the strength of our fingers, the way our palms were folded. These could express everything. Because we had to hide and repress our feelings, our love was of much greater depth and sensitivity compared to normal lovers. Mr. Triple X, are you willing to take Miss Triple X to be your wife? Lu Feng squeezed my hand and softly said, I do. I responded in unison with the bride. I do. Although it seemed ridiculous, we were both serious. Lu Feng gripped my hand tighter. We knew we wouldn't be able to have our own wedding, so we just stole a little of someone else's happiness. The bride and groom exchanged rings. We had none, so Lu Feng just kept stroking my ring finger. The strength he put into it almost made me cry. It all happened so fast that no one was prepared for it. The highly praised Green Project at T High School provided good cover for many young couples. Therefore, even though it was prohibited, there were many young couples there. When the weather had turned warm, Lu Feng secretly dragged me out into the field at night, looking for a big, thick tree that cast a larger shadow, and a place with lots of flowers and bushes before we sat down. The usually straightforward Lu Feng was uncharacteristically mumbling. I have something to give you. He searched in the pockets of his coat, trying hard to keep a cool expression, but a glimmer of concern still appeared as he removed his hands from his pockets. What's that? It's not nice at all. He was doing his best to appear calm. It didn't cost much. You can take a look at it. If you don't like it, that's fine. I kept looking at him. How am I supposed to see what it is if you're holding it so tightly? Lu Feng gave an, "Oh," in response and quickly opened his fist. His rare discomfort and his lack of trust were interesting. I ducked to take a glance. Under the faint light, I could see 2 silver rings resting on his palm. Lu Feng cleared his throat. It's only silver, so it's a bit cheap. If you like, you can choose one. Seeing that I had no visible reaction, he coughed again, his tone indifferent. If you don't like it, it's okay. I just bought it for fun. I also think the style is outdated. The silversmith's eyes and skills were so poor, and his brain was not very good either. I had to tell him several times to make 2 rings suitable for men before he understood. How useless. After talking to himself for a while, and seeing that I still wasn't responding, Lu Feng awkwardly closed his mouth and withdrew his hand. Lu Feng, I whispered softly. I could tell he wasn't happy. I hugged his waist and buried myself in his chest. I didn't want him to see my ugly face while I was crying. What's wrong? His tone softened as he patted my head. I love you. He stopped for a moment and then touched my wet face. Idiot, why are you crying? He awkwardly cupped my face, trying to lift it up. How ugly. Are you still a man? My shoulders continued to shake, unable to stop, crying like a silly. Lu Feng put his forehead against mine to look me in the eyes. How silly. I like you. I like you, Cheng Yichen. Lu Feng loves Cheng Yichen. So why are you crying? I like you a lot. He adjusted the ring perfectly, its touch cold. It grabbed firmly onto my finger. Lu Feng, if the day comes that you no longer like me, never take the ring from me. I can repay you, but you can never take it. Before I could finish, he pressed his lips firmly against mine. I clenched my teeth, still sobbing and shaking. Idiot, why are you still crying? Don't clench your teeth so tightly, he coaxed slowly. Why wouldn't I like you? I just want to be with you every day. I clung to his arms, not willing to let go. No one else would ever be able to give me such a passionate kiss in the future. As the blinding torchlight struck us, I didn't even have time to scream before Lu Feng forcefully pushed me into his arms. Chapter 16. As the blinding torchlight struck us, I didn't even have time to scream before Lu Feng forcefully shoved me into his arms. Another pair. The discipline master sounded immensely pleased with himself. How outrageous. All the high school students these days are coming to school to date instead of studying. How are they going to get into college? My heart pounded violently. My hands and feet had gone cold. Lu Feng, move your hand. It's useless to block. Even if you continue like this, both of you will still be reported in the end. Lu Feng was still trying to protect my face. It's not his fault. I was the one who made him. Just give me another demerit. The discipline teacher was obviously enraged. Why are you acting like a hero? That feminine-looking student over there, look up. How many times have we said that high school students are not allowed to date? Look up. Lu Feng tenaciously shielded me with his arms. The way he shielded me, as if he was going to fight to his death, made me feel terrible. My face was finally exposed under the piercing lights of the flashlight. Everything was in absolute silence. If I had been in the mood to appreciate something, the discipline teacher's expression was actually quite amusing. As for how Lu Feng and I were going to be punished, the decision was not made immediately. That was because they had never had such a case before, nor anything to suggest what kind of punishment should be given for a relationship between 2 boys at school. My former teachers were finally faced with a problem they had never faced before. No matter how open-minded or indifferent we could not laugh at this. Informing our parents was undoubtedly one of the necessary procedures. As for what Lu Feng's father would do with him, I didn't know, but my father would certainly not forgive me. Before our parents rushed to the school after being notified, they had no idea where to place the 2 of us. Leaving us in the boys' dormitory would cause panic, and the girls' dormitories were definitely out of the question. In the midst of all the confusion, Lu Feng easily dragged me out of the school. We found a bar and went to rest. Lu Feng drank his beer in silence, one hand still holding mine. We were both shaken by this sudden disaster, but he was still a bit stronger than me when he tried to comfort me. I'm not going to let them expel you. When he said these words, his expression was so calm and optimistic. If they ask, just say that I was the one who forced this on you. I can just transfer to another school. If I get the chance, I can still sneak out to see you. Everything will be fine. We just have to endure for 1.5 years. Once we get into college, maybe we can be together again. I knew he was only trying to comfort me, but who would want to expose his lies at a time like this? Don't cry. As long as I don't get beaten to death by my father, we still have a chance to meet, right? I wiped away my tears and did my best to put on a confident smile. Tisk, isn't this Lu Feng? Don't you find holding hands with a man disgusting? Lu Feng shot a hateful look upward to see the person who spoke, at the same time discovering the numerous people behind him. I recognized this person. He was the head of K High School. His name was Yang Wei, a name that was just as ridiculous as the person himself. What's with that look? Aren't you happy? If you want to fight, then go ahead, you disgusting homosexual. Do you think I'm afraid of you? I heard a snap of Lu Feng's fingers. If it was one-on-one, he would have easily lost his teeth challenging Lu Feng like that. Today, with a large number backing him, he was spouting all kinds of nonsense. Lu Feng, let's go. I assumed he understood me. The situation we were in was already sticky enough. If we added another mark for getting into a fight, it would only make things worse. Yang Wei gave me a good look, a seedy look. Lu Feng, is this the boy you're playing with? He's so skinny, how can he be fun? What part of him are you playing with? His butt. I couldn't stop Lu Feng before he hit the man harshly. Yang Wei's face bounced twice from the impact before blood splattered. Well, you've got nerve. Yang Wei grimaced in pain, pointing with his hands. Some of you attack. The rest of the customers in the bar had scattered. The boss was nowhere to be found as well. A group of people surrounded Lu Feng, punching and kicking him. I didn't know how to struggle, so I couldn't avoid it, and I went crazy with anxiety. After struggling to no avail for a while, I saw the phone on the bar table and quickly hurried over. Are you thinking of calling the police? It's useless even if you call. A hand squeezed my wrist. It was Yang Wei. It seems you really have a fondness for him. Lu Feng played with you so much that it made you feel good. Are you addicted? Filth. It was the first time I had used such a vulgar word against someone. Yang Wei's expression changed, grabbing me tightly. Let's see how stubborn you can be once you get stripped. Pervert. I'd love to see if you're any different from other men. Could it be that you're a transvestite? If Lu Feng can play, why can't I? I can, right? Get lost. I started to panic when my shirt was opened. Get lost, leave me. Bastard, let me go. He was smirking, his hands reaching for my pants. Lu Feng. I was fighting for my life. I don't want this, Lu Feng. I must have been scared to death to call Lu Feng for help so desperately. If I could go back in time, I would certainly have chosen to keep silent. Yang Wei only wanted revenge. He wouldn't have done anything to me. Even if he did, he shouldn't have chosen that moment to agitate Lu Feng. I had never realized how terrifying my cries for help must have sounded to him. Then came the sound of a beer bottle breaking. Yang Wei, who had been pressing me down, was lifted up by the neck, his head covered with shards of broken glass and beer foam. You fucking dare hit me? Just wait until I'm done with this boy. Lu Feng saw my disheveled clothes, his eyes burning red, his expression similar to that of a beast. All I heard was a soft sound before seeing blood spill from Yang Wei's abdomen. Yang Wei merely let out a slight grunt before falling to the ground. The piercing screams began. His followers were all pale with shock, only knowing how to shout, "A murder! Someone is dead! Murder!" Lu Feng still held the beer bottle, broken and spotted with blood, his face cold and hard. He looked at me, and I too looked at him. Both faces were stained with despair. It was 1998. Summer was not in its best mood that year, seeming to come at times, and then not quite. I was 15 years old. Lu Feng was 19. The consequences we had to endure seemed far in excess of what we could tolerate. Chapter 17. To end the matter, Lu Feng was expelled because he placed all the blame on himself, so my punishment was much lighter. Although Yang Wei eventually still lived, the odds were not in Lu Feng's favor. In addition to intentionally harming another person, there was his relationship with me. He was older, but I was not, and the law believed that a boy of 15 years would not have the ability to confirm his own feelings. That meant they intended to accuse Lu Feng of seducing me. I lost all control, scratching and biting, attacking everyone who tried to pose this question to me, including my parents and even Yichen. I hated their sinister and dirty looks. Don't they have eyes? Can't they see that we're in love? Why is it that everything that happens between homosexuals has to be labeled as something abnormal? Who thinks this kind of love should be forbidden? After being cooped up at home for only 3 days, the outstanding, sensitive, kind, and well-behaved Yichen was no longer recognizable. My parents once saw me as a flag bearer, the reason for pride in the family. Now I had become a fountain of shame that they were not ready even to mention. Even my little brother was avoiding me. I was trapped in the small room, shaking with pain, but I couldn't say a word. About people like us, people would only laugh when we brought up the word pain. I didn't know how Lu Feng was doing. The problem he had caused went far beyond what his father could tolerate. The last time we saw each other was in the office. His father was grudgingly apologizing to the teacher and my parents, all the while looking at Lu Feng. I understood that look in his eyes. It said, "It must be my fault for not looking out for you, allowing you to become spoiled until you got caught up in this homosexual affair and even killed someone." I could almost imagine the pain Lu Feng went through as the bat mercilessly smashed into his back. But I couldn't see it. When Yichen secretly opened the door, which was locked from the outside, I was squatting in a corner of the room in a semi-conscious state. Looking at him, I must have seemed terribly sad and pathetic, because Yichen looked like he was about to cry with just one glance. "Brother, can you let me out?" I could no longer remember the number of times I had asked like this. Yichen did not shake his head in determination or in a panic as usual. His thin single eyelid had folded into an angry and hateful line. "You still want to see him? That pervert who did this to you, and you're still thinking about him." Yichen, Dad, and Mom were the same. All of them had become strangers. At the same time, they had made me and Lu Feng strangers as well. They refused to even mention the name Lu Feng. "But you don't have to think about him anymore," he spat hatefully. "He's leaving for America, and he'll never come back." My eyes widened. A ringing sound started in my ears. What's so weird about that? Yichen was looking at me with either compassion or anger. The fact that he's not in jail is all thanks to the wealth and influence of the Lu family. Sending him abroad to hide was just a matter of time. I stood up abruptly and ran toward the door. Yichen blocked the door quickly. With his strength now, he could easily hold me back. "Dad and Mom wanted me to keep a close eye on you. So just give up and stop thinking about him." Tears immediately welled up from the corners of my eyes, the big drops falling quickly to meet the floor. Yichen looked away, unable to look at me. "Brother, don't be like that. That person is a monster. What's good about him? It's abnormal for the two of you to be together. Once he's gone, you can live as a normal person again in the future." I slapped him across the face. In the many years we had grown up together, that was the first time I had hit him. We both stared at each other stiffly. Yichen angrily pushed me away before getting up, ready to leave. That was the only ray of hope I had left. I couldn't give it up. Just before he closed the door, I got up and knelt in front of him. "Brother," Yichen's voice, although angry and surprised, was shaking. "Why are you doing this for someone so? Yichen, let me go see him once. Just once. Yichen, I beg you. Yichen, what's the point of seeing him before he leaves?" Yichen gritted his teeth. "Please." I couldn't think of any fancy words to move him anymore. All I could do was robotically repeat myself one more time. "You're still crying. You're still crying for him." Yichen ground his teeth, but the rims of his eyes turned red as well. "It's no use. You won't make it on time, even if you leave now." Yichen. I knew I was torturing him with my haggard look in that moment, but I had no other option. He cursed harshly, pulled out his wallet, tossed it in front of me, then turned and ran. I heard the sound of him slamming his bedroom door shut. I called a taxi and headed straight for the airport, not bothering how expensive it was or checking if I had enough money to pay for the trip. Upon arriving, I threw all the money I had in the wallet to the driver and ran toward the terminal. Yichen was correct. It was already too late. Lu Feng. I never thought my voice could sound so desperate and hopeless. Lu Feng. People passing by looked at me with either shock or pity. Lu Feng. I only hoped that he could hear me. I hoped that he would turn around and give me one last look. But there was nothing. No miracles. On television or in novels. Why do the main characters always have the joy of seeing each other again one last time? Or sometimes they don't even have to leave. Why is it that the world is so kind to fictional characters, but so cruel to real, living people? Chapter 18. I sat up awkwardly, curling into a ball. I stayed in this position for a long time until someone lightly shook me. Brother. I allowed myself to be drawn into his arms without any resistance. Yichen used his arms to cover my tear-stained face. We're going home. I pressed my face against his chest. He couldn't comprehend my relationship with Lu Feng, but still, he wanted me anyway. I was eventually transferred to another school. Whenever the boys saw me, especially in the toilets or bathrooms, they would hide in an exaggerated state of panic. The moment I appeared, they would flee like a flock of birds. They were all afraid that I would pay attention to them. Every time it happened, I secretly scoffed. Homosexuals are not attracted to every guy we see. Even if I were interested in those people, I wouldn't want to start anything with them. If they looked at me, I couldn't think highly of them either. If I hadn't transferred at such a time, it would have been difficult for everyone. I moved to a school far away. Although the enrollment rate wasn't as good, that wasn't the point. Nobody knew me over there, so I didn't have to bear any of their stares. The atmosphere at home was still generally cold. Besides providing for my expenses, my parents never sent me letters. Only Yichen secretly wrote to me or called. I kept writing letters to Lu Feng. Yichen was the one who gave me the address. He admitted that he had gone to the school looking for Lu Feng and begged for his address and information for me before he left. When Yichen passed me that slim piece of paper, his young face was full of blame and betrayal. This blame peaked, almost distorting his expression, when he promised that he would help me hide the letters in case Lu Feng answered someday. I knew that he had reached his limit in trying to tolerate this kind of love. What more could I ask of him? However, I never received a single letter from Lu Feng. I still insisted on writing until the day my letters were returned. Then my letters came back with a seal indicating that they had moved out. That day, I held my return mail and cried throughout the entire evening. I knew then Lu Feng was never coming back. To leave it at that, the years after Lu Feng could easily be summed up in a couple of sentences. In truth, he had done almost nothing during those years. Cheng Yichen became Cheng Yichen again, getting good grades and behaving, becoming tolerant and honest. I knew that I had lost something in the process, but I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. My relationship with my parents did not get better until I got into a good university that was even farther from home than before. Maybe it was because they realized that I was really going to go away very far this time. Or perhaps because the image of me carrying heavy luggage alone and heading toward the train station had touched a weak point. My strict dad finally called, telling me to come home before vacation once it started and not to hang out with any bad company. I didn't mix with any of the bad company he mentioned, but the girlfriend they anticipated never appeared either. When there was a phone call looking for me during the holidays, they were just as alert as they had been in the past. It's just that now, if it was a male, they would listen in secretly and would sigh in relief only when they heard the voice of a woman. I never mentioned the name Lu Feng, and I never demonstrated any clue that I still thought of him. It was as if that year and that break in my feelings were no more than a joke that had gone off the rails. Only that little silver ring hung on a silk thread around my neck. Because it had never left my side, over time much of its shine had been lost. The outer layer had oxidized and turned slightly black. I didn't want to even remember it. This kind of longing that had no hope, no future, and no end only makes one suffer. It's just that I couldn't forget. When I was in my second year of university, Yichen started university too. Though he didn't say so, I knew that he had traveled all the way to this city for me. He was disappointed when he couldn't get into the university I was studying at, but he was quickly excited again when he realized that the two schools were separated by a mere road. Yichen was actually more naive and childish than me. Any child who went through what I did would definitely be more mature compared to his actual age. But he had always stubbornly thought that I was the one who needed his care and protection. The scene where I weakly knelt down and hugged his legs while begging must have left too deep an impression on him. I knew in my heart that he had good intentions, and I wanted to appreciate them as well. After all, kinship was something that couldn't be destroyed or replaced. But the not-so-wonderful fact that I was a homosexual became something we were both unwilling to bring up, yet I couldn't help but bring it into the open from time to time, breaking the peace. Even though I was close to Yichen, we weren't as close as we were in the past. So even though he had rented a room, he was not willing to live with me, forcing me to rent a single room 2 buildings away. The distance between the 2 buildings was not far, but it was very real. Yichen began to look more and more like me as he grew. Looking at him felt like looking at myself in the mirror. The same olive-shaped eyes with ends that were slightly raised, the same soft skin, the same thin upper lip and thicker lower lip, the same hairstyle. Even our bodies were formed in a similar way, thin and long. Of course, we still had our differences. He was brilliant, and as for me, though I might once have been so happy-go-lucky and bright, that was years ago. I had smoothly advanced into my 4th year at the university. Even though I wasn't active, my grades were still acceptable, so I didn't have to let them bury me in silence. In conclusion, all was quiet. No one detected my unusual sexuality, mostly due to my lack of interest and worth in making male friends. Logically speaking, it would be impossible to say that a healthy 20-year-old boy had no desires, but I had controlled them well. I suspect that I am suffering from psychological trauma. The name of that trauma was Lu Feng. My mood was extremely low, so I would go to a bar I frequented to get some drinks. Usually I would order some mild alcohol and sit alone in the corner, quietly drinking and staring into space, leaving only after a few hours had passed and when I was about to get drunk. The next day, I would have my spirits lifted and start over, similar to Kong e.g. I had thought that only single, drunk ladies would have the experience of being harassed, but society had changed without me knowing it. Even stupid men now wouldn't leave a single drunk man alone. When those few men who didn't seem to be good at all sat next to me, I had already sensed that something was wrong. Chapter 19. I had thought that only single ladies who were drunk would have the experience of being harassed, but society had changed unknowingly. Stupid men wouldn't even leave a single drunk man alone now. When those few men who seemed to be up to no good sat next to me, I had already sensed that something was wrong. However, because I had drunk too much, my reaction was slow. That meant I was pinned down in my seat before I could stand up. What are you doing? The alcohol didn't shake me, but it made me slow and caused me to stutter. My face would not turn red as a tomato when I was drunk. It just left a thin blush on my pale skin. You drink well. Join us for a few more drinks. Someone's hand was on my waist, another touching my chest. No, you can't. I started talking even slower when I panicked. Those hands continued their roaming over my body, and I couldn't get them off me. Move your hands. It must feel lonely here without company, right? Let us join you and have a good time. I don't want this. How can 2 hands win against 6? I felt terribly uncomfortable and was breaking out in a cold sweat. Seeing that my resistance was weak, they became even more daring. They squeezed me in the middle. Someone touched my face. What's wrong? Are you going to cry? Here you go. I'll buy you a drink as compensation. No. I turned my head desperately, trying to avoid the glass that was pressed firmly to my lips. My jaw was forced open, allowing the strong, cold liquid to be forcibly poured inside. Half of it spilled out of the corners of my mouth, drenching my chest. I momentarily choked, coughed harshly, my face bright red. My helpless state made them even more interested, pressing me to quickly drink a second cup. My hands and legs went weak. My head was spinning badly. My blurry vision was a mess as I tried to fight. I don't want to drink. What are you guys doing? Someone intervening was a surprise. The few fools who would step forward to help a stranger were followed by others, and a grown man like me was basically not worth the trouble of being saved. Even if it was the bar owner, he would wait until he could no longer bear to see his glasses or lamps get damaged before yelling for them to stop, adding a line of, "If you want to make a mess, then do it outside." Nothing, we're friends. The few men laughed as they held me down. Let's talk outside. Come on. No. I desperately struggled to break free of their control. I don't know them. I wobbled around for a while before another set of arms held me tight. I looked at him, stunned. Cheng Yichen, is that you? Who? This person. I strained my eyes in an attempt to recognize his face. His features looked familiar, but also completely foreign at the same time. Lu Feng. No. Lu Feng would not have come back. He wouldn't hold me like this. But, if it was Lu Feng, what if it was Lu Feng? I was in a state of confusion, clutching at the ends of his clothing blindly. I could no longer hear what that person was saying. I only knew that he was ready to leave. Lu Feng, don't be like that. I want to talk to you. Don't make me do this. I hugged his waist in a panic. No, don't go. What are you doing? He jerked his hand away roughly. Wait, don't go. I grabbed onto him tenaciously, burying my face in his shoulder, afraid that he was going to leave and never come back. The noise from the surroundings became a blur. I could only hear him gently telling me to let go, saying, "Yichen, let me go first, okay? I won't leave." I cautiously released him. Fortunately, he just lowered his head to look at me and didn't have a chance to escape. "Yichen, how about drinking some tea?" I didn't move, foolishly looking at him. "Lu Feng, in the past, you never called me that." Breaking away for a while, he suddenly rushed toward me furiously. "Speak clearly. Who the hell is your friend?" I didn't even have time to reach him before he turned and hit the other one. A horrible sound rang out as his blow landed on flesh. Someone was crying in pain. "No, Lu Feng, you can't get into trouble again." I stood unsteadily and blocked his path, trying to stop something before I felt a pain in my neck. I hadn't been able to see what was happening before a sudden force overwhelmed me, causing me to fall. My head fell back and landed on something unknown. My eyelids gradually became too heavy for me to hold open. When I woke up, I found myself still lying on the floor next to the bar table. There was no one around, except for a waiter who was busy cleaning up the mess. The Lu Feng in my hallucinations had, in fact, disappeared. I sat there blankly for a while. No one bothered or noticed me. I finally got up and walked out quietly. The ring was gone. Making sure there was indeed nothing around my neck, I desperately searched again. When had I lost it? Before I ended up drinking the night before, I was sure I had felt its weight vividly pressing against my chest. When exactly had I lost it? The bar only opened at 7 p.m., so I stood by the door until it opened and hurried in. The lights were not bright, so I got down on my hands and knees and searched every inch of the area where the struggle had happened last night, until my hands were covered with dust. Nothing. I clung to a little hope and searched once more, even checking the cracks in the floor. Yet nothing. The bar owner looked at me in shock as I crawled around under the tables in anguish. I really wanted to explain my situation to him, to ask him if he had picked up a small silver ring, but despair had washed over me, rendering me speechless. The worst possibility was that it had been swept away with the broken glass shards and other pieces of trash. The only thing Lu Feng had left me was gone. Chapter 20. The only thing that Lu Feng had left me. That person appeared again after I had stared at the ground for several days in a row and made sure that it was indeed empty. "Hey." He was smiling. "We meet again. Are you here to drink?" I momentarily couldn't recognize who it was. If I had met someone that impressive, it couldn't be that I didn't have some impression of him. "Looking for something? Is this it?" He searched his suit pockets and pulled something out. That small ring, without a trace of color, lay calmly in his hands. I didn't even say a word of thanks before I snatched it away. I had thought that the last link between me and Lu Feng was going to be broken just like that. He was surprised to see me crying while pressing the ring firmly to my chest, muttering only after staring for a while. Are you all right? I wanted to give this back to you the last time we met, but, too, after the fight, I forgot about it." I finally realized that there was a bewildered stranger standing in front of me. "Thank you so much." Feelings of shame washed over me for having lost my cool in front of him. I sniffled. "This is very important to me." "Oh." He was a bit confused. He threw a quick glance at the ring. Then once again a furtive look appeared on his face. "Was it from your bride?" I was afraid that I would scare him if I said boyfriend, so I simply nodded. Lu Feng would just have to change his gender for now. "Oh." He sounded like he understood everything. "Don't be sad. There are plenty of other fish in the sea. No need to limit yourself to one. Look how terribly you're crying. Does she know? If it wasn't meant to be, then why not just find someone else happily?" After being comforted by him like that, I felt a bit amused. "Thank you." "Oh, no problem. As long as you're happy." He seemed much more relieved. "This person is a good person, but he's a bit of a fool." "Chen, is your friend feeling better?" The proprietor brought a plate of fruit, winking at him as he approached. "This good? What could go wrong for Yichen?" He was smiling widely, a hand placed on my shoulder. I was shocked. "Is he someone close to me?" "My name is Shin Chao. I am the owner of this bar. If there is ever any trouble in the future, just come to me. Chen Lang's friends are my friends too." The owner extended his open hand. What? Are both of you the kind of people who are usually so gentle with people so easily?" Thanks. I shook his hand firmly. Then I suddenly remembered. "You were the ones who helped me when I got drunk here last time, right? Despite that, there is no need to be so intimate." The credit mainly goes to Qin Lang. He's still very proud of it now. It had nothing to do with me. I just stayed by the side and watched. He exchanged glances with Qin Lang, then smiled before leaving. Qin Lang. I was a bit uncomfortable. I couldn't say someone's name so openly when we had barely acquainted ourselves. You've helped me twice now. I really don't know how to thank you. Especially this time, you helped me find this ring. Should I be this kind to a person who is about 80% a stranger? He looked insulted. Why are you being so polite? Fine. If you think this is a great favor, there's no need to give thanks. Just keep it in your heart. After thinking for a while, he added, if you really want to express your gratitude, I don't want you to sacrifice your body. Otherwise, I want you to invite me for a drink. Would a man have to sacrifice his body for him so easily? Once we sat down to drink, this weird guy started talking nonstop. In fact, he was talking to me about all sorts of things. Was this the way to approach another person? I couldn't stop taking a second look at him. He was very young and very bright and beautiful. On the night when I had gotten drunk, I had been sleepy and thought that he resembled Lu Feng, but comparing them now, the only similarities they shared would be the outline of their jaws and their gender. His facial features were shiny and alive, a strong contrast with the cold side of Lu Feng. He was too talkative. He couldn't even understand 2 sentences in a row. Lu Feng was not even willing to open his mouth in the presence of unknown people. I watched for a moment, then came to the conclusion that this guy seemed like he was able to accept everything and had a personality that seemed to be able to get along with everyone. He could be summed up in one word: playboy. He didn't know that he had already been given this label in my heart, and he was still talking about the formation of volcanoes and earthquakes. How unfortunate. He must have been afraid that if he stopped talking, there would be an awkward silence. This is a rather naive and kind playboy. I was afraid that if I stayed any longer, I would have to start bringing up the subject of how humans and other beings came to be. So after I drank the last bit of alcohol, I stood up. Qin Lang, I've accompanied you for so much time and said so much. Thank you. I feel a lot better now. I grabbed my coat, ready to go out. He had had a bit too much to drink after all. The ground felt a bit empty when I stood up, so I swayed slightly. He immediately held me. Are you going to be okay after drinking so much? Do you want me to take you home? No need. I still felt a bit uncomfortable in another man's arms, so I struggled to break free of his grasp. I'm going to call a taxi. Oh, be careful then. I personally found the way Qin Lang was looking at me a bit strange. Could he be gay too? Well, I was thinking randomly. There's no need for the sudden bolt of thunder. Stupid weather. Chapter 21. After parting with Qin Lang for a week, I saw that newspaper. It was a boring weekend, so the most appropriate time to read the newspaper was during meals or when going to the bathroom. For most people, the most interesting section would be the entertainment section, where various scandals and gossip about big and small names in the industry took up our free time. I was no exception. The protagonist was a familiar woman whose juicy gossip had probably held countless reporters' jobs. This time, the rumor was about a marriage. The woman who had hypnotized and played with so many men was actually giving up obediently, and it seemed like the two of them had fallen in love at first sight and immediately gotten engaged. In the midst of all this, there was also talk about the marriage being used only to improve business relationships. I slowly read through the long article while eating chicken curry rice in the student cafeteria, figuring that I would finish reading once I finished my last piece of chicken. The man is an American-born Chinese, the second son of a well-known businessman. 24 years old, young, handsome, and charming. My eyes jumped past the dry descriptive phrases and immediately landed on the name of this young, handsome, and charming winner of this great adventure. Lu Feng. I looked once more. Lu Feng. 2 words. There were no differences. It didn't feel real. I went back to look at the image I hadn't paid attention to before, of the supposed groom and bride standing next to each other. That person, who had become stronger and more mature, the lines on his face now completely belonging to a man with a great amount of experience. His expression was still cold, but with it, he wore a smile. This person is Lu Feng. He is getting married. All the illusions that I secretly had immediately disappeared with a pop. From now on, I would have no right to have even one last shred of hope or anticipation. Alcohol was something magnificent. It was cold to the first touch, but once it reached the stomach, it became an unbearable heat, similar to that of a burning fire. I drank until I was giddy. The owner wouldn't let the bartender serve me any more alcohol, so I sat there groggily holding an empty glass. I couldn't cry or make a scene. I couldn't say anything. There was bitterness in my heart. There was even bitterness on my tongue. But I couldn't say anything. Someone lifted me, bridal style. I struggled with unfocused eyes in an attempt to recognize his angry face. When I was slightly conscious, I realized that it was Qin Lang, but I quickly fell into a blurry confusion again, thinking that it was Lu Feng. I wrapped his coat around me and curled up in the back seat of the car without throwing up. My drinking label was good. I only curled up in silence like a ball, my whole body hot, but feeling cold at the same time. I shuddered. Where do you live? I'm going to take you home. I lent my house to my friend for a party, so I can't take you there. I closed my eyes and mouth tightly, hearing him sigh. The car stopped for a while, and then slowly continued on its way. With a sudden stop, I rolled off the seat, landing hard on the carpeted interior of the car. He cursed. There was a sound of car doors opening and closing. Then a pair of strong arms lifted me up. Are you hurt somewhere? Shaking from the cold, I instinctively wrapped my arms around his waist and buried my face in his chest. Who was this warm, strong, and tall man? I searched for his body confusedly. Who had held me firmly like this? Lu Feng. Lu Feng. I clung to him tightly, burying myself in his arms. Don't forget. Don't fall in love with someone else. Don't say that you don't recognize me. Don't use the same hands with which you hugged me to go hug someone else. Don't forget that you said we would be together forever. Don't forget that I will always be waiting for you. Lu Feng. I found a pair of something soft and warm, so I immediately glued my lips messily to them. Lu Feng, I haven't kissed you in 5 years. Are you still the same as you were in the past, with a little stubble under your chin that knocks against my teeth once you get anxious, becoming timid when you take the lead, even though you always pretend to be so manly and beastly? Lu Feng, are you still willing to kiss a man that you no longer love? He is reacting. Splendid. I know my abilities are terrible. I could never learn how to tempt, so I could still disappoint when I climax. But you still love. He hugged me very tightly. The faint smell of tobacco filled my mouth. I was terribly dizzy. My fingers could not undo a button, even after a long struggle, so I could only lie beneath him with impotence. He removed everything in an instant, including the heavy jeans, then pressed down hard. His body was warm, this time even hot. Fearful of the cold, I pressed myself against him. Pain. The pain was getting worse, the sensation spreading little by little until I felt it all over my body. I bit down hard on my lower lip, trying my best not to move and to grab his waist. Lu Feng, when we did it back then, I was so clumsy. Were you extremely dissatisfied? If I had been more willing, enduring a little more pain and acting a little better, could you have remembered me for a while longer? His thrusts were close to brutal, nearly rendering me speechless. I cried, wanting to call out Lu Feng's name, but that muffled sound was completely blocked by his lips.